Chapter 1045. Daoist Shintian stood up and said, Heaven/mountain range, extreme frost ice plains, and the East Sea demon race can't do much, but the West Sea demon race is still rampant. It's not difficult for the Archaic Mysteries sect to guard the mountain gate, but if you encounter many demon kings, you won't be able to defend against them. I want to ask for your help to raise the Archaic Mysteries sect's ancestral yin-yang compass to level 6. Of course, I won't ask for your help for free. I can use the Archaic Mysteries sect's complete aura examination technique in exchange. The Archaic Mysteries sect's aura examination technique was a good thing. Other than seeing a person's luck, it could also see through the heavens and predict good or bad luck. Back when he was still in the Foundation establishment stage, Xian Zhouxiao could see that he was about to face a bloody calamity. In the end, he was seriously injured by Zhou Wan's sword and took a few years to recover. Other than that, the aura examination technique could also detect hidden enemies. The enemy could hide their body and aura, but they couldn't hide their luck. Wang Daoyuan had read many books, but he had never heard of a method to hide one's luck. Every living thing had its own luck. Even some dead things had their own luck, such as refined corpses and magic weapons. Dead objects with strong karmic luck could nurture the spirit race. The aura examination technique had two fatal flaws. One was that it consumed a lot of divine sense. The other was that if the aura examination technique was too strong, it would backfire and injure one's soul. There was also the possibility of being struck by lightning. The yin-yang old ancestor and the myriad spirit old ancestor were warned by heavenly thunder for spying on their own luck. These 2 points weren't a problem for Wang Daoyuan. He could quickly recover his divine sense, so he didn't need to care about the consumption. Even if he was facing a strong opponent and couldn't use his cultivation technique, he could still use a secret technique to convert his spirit energy into divine sense. As for the backlash of luck, whose luck could be stronger than his? The other children of luck were either not born or had low cultivation. Their luck was too weak. Martial Uncle Shintian is really generous. Since Martial Uncle is willing to exchange the aura examination technique, it's naturally not a problem. It's just that it might take a long time to nurture it to level 6. Daoist Master Shintian smiled and said, It's fine. Let Zhou Xiao wait here. When the yin-yang compass is ready, let him take it away. As expected of the old fox, he placed Xian Zhouxiao here so that he could ask some questions about cultivation. Of course, he did not lose anything in this matter, so there was no problem in letting Xian Zhouxiao stay. In the future, the Archaic Mysteries sect would play an important role in tying all the major powers in Beiyuan to his worship. As per Martial Uncle Xuantian's words, let Brother Zhouxiao stay in the Yen Kingdom for the time being. As for the other martial uncles, if there's anything else, please feel free to tell me. Xueqi and the other two looked as if nothing had happened. Immortal Cloud Crane was also calm and composed. There was not a single Yuanying fiendish cultivator in the southern wasteland. Let alone the fiend race, Wang Daoyuan had already entered the heaven-decimating abyss to sweep through quite a few times. Not a single one dared to show themselves. The Wind-Snow Deity Palace's Daoist Master Han Shuang's face was like a 10,000-year-old iceberg, without the slightest change. The group of people from the Wind-Snow Deity Palace stayed in the world of ice and snow all day long, and would not come out easily. Now that the fiend race in the Arctic ice plains had been crippled, and Wang Daoyuan had also left behind a backup plan, they should be fine. Instead, it was Immortal Swordless who spoke. Our Tai Sword sect is also near the West Sea. If the fiend race in the West Sea were to rebel, we would have to help the Archaic Mysteries sect to resist the enemy. Junior Martial Brother Daoyuan, please help nurture the Demon Slayer sword to the 6th tier. If the fiend race in the West Sea were to invade, the Demon Slayer sword and the yin-yang compass would be able to deal with the 6th tier fiend race for a while. Nurturing a 5th tier magic weapon to the 6th tier would surely take a lot of effort. Naturally, I cannot let Junior Martial Brother work in vain. After saying that, he took out a beast skin book. There were many shallow cracks on the cover of the book, and the whole book was slightly yellowed. It seemed to be quite old. This book records a special refining method. Back then, the ancestors of our Tai Sword sect predicted that the spiritual energy in Beiyuan would become lower and lower. A few divine transformation grandmasters who were proficient in refining created this kind of pseudo-restriction refining method. A real restriction requires the use of divine consciousness to trigger the laws to condense. Because it involves the power of laws, this restriction requires a lot of materials. This pseudo-restriction imitates the structure of a real restriction and is completely made of wear patterns. It can be condensed with divine consciousness and can also be engraved. It does not require a lot of materials. Although the power of this pseudo-restriction is not as strong as a real restriction, it is still much stronger than the ordinary wear patterns. Moreover, a magic weapon with a pseudo-restriction is more likely to have a weapon spirit than an ordinary magic weapon. Of course, this pseudo-restriction also has a lot of shortcomings. First, it is very troublesome to refine, and it consumes a lot of divine consciousness and mental energy. There are not many disciples in the Tai sword sect who can engrave pseudo-restrictions. The inherent flaw of wear patterns is that they cannot be too far apart from each other. Restrictions use inscriptions of laws to make up for this flaw. Pseudo-restrictions do not use inscriptions of laws, so they cannot make up for this flaw. Therefore, the pseudo-restriction cannot be too big, and there cannot be too many pseudo-restrictions on a magic weapon. This time, Wang Daoyuan understood. This pseudo-restriction was developed by the ancestors of the Tai sword sect to deal with the depletion of spirit qi. As the spirit qi gradually depleted, high-grade spiritual materials would slowly decline without the nourishment of spirit qi. Sooner or later, 6th-grade refining materials would disappear. At that time, 5th-grade magic weapons would become the strongest magic weapons. With this pseudo-restriction method, the Tai sword sect could refine even more powerful 5th-grade magic weapons to maintain their status. However, at this point, it was meaningless to have a pseudo-restriction. Wang Daoyuan was a divine transformation cultivator. As long as he was willing to spend time, he could restore many of those materials to 6th grade. He could make up for the lack of refining materials and refine 6th-grade magic weapons. Pseudo-restrictions were not as good as real restrictions, and there were many restrictions. There was not much point in keeping this thing, so it was not bad to use it for an exchange. Wang Daoyuan was also very interested in this thing. Although pseudo-restrictions had many shortcomings, they were stronger than ordinary 5th-grade magic weapons. With the space of the spiritual pearl, these shortcomings did not matter. Although the 5th-grade magic weapon was not useful to him, it was very useful to the Yen Kingdom. He had learned a lot about the War of Providence. Even in the War of Providence, Yuanian cultivators were qualified to be cannon fodder. If their magic weapons were good, it could also increase their combat strength. Most importantly, this pseudo-restriction had a higher success rate of nurturing a weapon spirit. With a weapon spirit, the difficulty of nurturing it to 6th grade would be greatly reduced. Since senior brother Swordless is so polite, I won't refuse. I'll accept this pseudo-restriction refining method. As for when the Demon Slayer sword can be nurtured to 6th grade, I can't say. When the Demon Slayer sword is nurtured, I'll send someone to send it back to the Tai sword sect. Swordless Master waved his hand and said, "No need to trouble yourself. I'll let junior brother Kuei Jian stay in the Yen Kingdom. When the Demon Slayer sword is nurtured, I'll let him bring it back to the Tai sword sect." Kuei Jian was a little careless in doing things, but his cultivation talent was not weak. He had already broken through to the Yuanying realm. It seemed that he wanted Wang Daoyuan to give Kuei Jian some pointers. Back then, he was able to fuse sword intent because he owed the Tai sword sect a favor. On the path of cultivation, Kuei Jian and his disciple had also given him a lot of help. It was only right to give him some pointers. No matter what, the Tai sword sect was one of the top forces with more than 70,000 years of heritage. Most importantly, the Tai sword sect had no involvement with the forces south of the decimating heaven abyss. The core inheritance, the Tai sword diagram, was left behind by the eldest disciple of the Guiyuan sword immortal, and could be considered to be of the same lineage as him. In the future, when he revealed his identity as the son of Providence, the Tai sword sect would be the best to rope him in. Sooner or later, they would be on the same side. It was only right to help. Then let senior brother Kuei Jian wait in the Yen Kingdom. After discussing business, everyone chatted for a while before gradually dispersing. Wang Daoyuan instructed Wang Mingchen to take care of Xian Jiuxiao and Kuei Jian before returning to Changle Palace with Zhou Wan. He took out the jade water gourd and examined it carefully. This gourd was really not bad. It was close to mid-grade tier 5 and had just grown. If it could be nurtured in the space of the spirit pearl for a period of time, it might be able to rise to mid-grade tier 5. However, Wang Daoyuan could not be bothered to go through so much trouble. It was better to take out the seeds inside and plant them in the space of the spirit pearl. With the current conditions of the spirit pearl, it was not difficult to nurture a tier 6 jade water gourd. His right hand formed a sword finger, and with a light wave, the head of the gourd was cut off. Probing it with his spiritual sense, he found that there were only 3 gourd seeds inside. He thought to himself, spirit plants and spirit beasts are the same. The higher the grade, the more difficult it is to reproduce. Fortunately, these 3 seeds were all mature and plump. Such seeds would grow well if they were planted in any spiritual field. The space of the spirit pearl is already extraordinary, and with the fire of life, growing the jade water gourd is even less of a problem. Xueqi looked at the gourd and sighed. It's a pity that it's not of the fire attribute. In the future, I'll find some upper-grade Tier 5 materials for refining weapons and nurture them to Tier 6 before refining them for you. He put the jade water gourd and the seeds into the space of the spirit pearl and handed them to his clone. Then, he took out a compass and a long sword from his universe ring. On the surface of the compass was a Taiji diagram. It was the yin-yang compass passed down by the ancestors of the archaic mysteries sect. The long sword shone with a cold light, but there were no decorations. It was no different from an ordinary Tai sword. Only the 2 small words, Demon Slayer, were carved on the hilt of the sword. These 2 words faintly exuded a sharp aura. It could be seen that the person who carved these words had high attainments in sword cultivation. Seniors, please come out and show your faces. I still need your help when nurturing the weapons. If I rely on myself, who knows how long it will take. The figures of the Yin-Yang Patriarch and the Demon Slayer Patriarch appeared on the 2 weapons. It was easier to nurture weapons with weapon spirits. Just like Linglong, it could directly eat the 5-element spiritual fire. The Yin-Yang Patriarch was an old acquaintance. The Yin-Yang compass needed pure Yin and pure Yang Qi. He only needed to give it the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire and Gui Water Death Flame to refine. The Demon Slayer sword was a metal attribute weapon. He just needed to draw out some Tai Golden Flames for the Demon Slayer Patriarch to refine. Wang Daoyuan drew out 3 types of spiritual fire. He gave the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire and Gui Water Death Flame to the Yin-Yang Patriarch and the Demon Slayer sword. Seniors, hurry up and refine the spiritual fire. The 2 weapon spirits did not stand on ceremony and directly swallowed. The Demon Slayer sword's foundation was slightly weaker. After an hour, it was already full. After all, the Yin-Yang compass was a powerful weapon. Its foundation was much stronger. It swallowed 2 types of spiritual fire at the same time and lasted for more than 2 hours. This consumed a lot of spiritual power. Ordinary soul formation cultivators might not be able to withstand it. But to Wang Daoyuan, it was a piece of cake. After the 2 weapons were full, Wang Daoyuan put them into his interspatial ring. Even if they used to be of extremely high grades, that was tens of thousands of years ago. Without the nourishment of spiritual power all year round, the quality of the weapons themselves had severely declined. It was like a person who had been sick for a long time and his body and bones had collapsed. Now, if he wanted to replenish his body, no matter how well he ate, it was impossible for him to recover with just 1 meal. On the contrary, it was possible that he ate too well and could not take the nourishment. Slowly recuperating was the right way. It was the same for these 2 weapons. If he wanted to restore their grade back then, he would have to take his time. Chapter 1046. The Yin-Yang compass and Demon Slayer sword had swallowed a large amount of spiritual fire. It would take at least a month or 2 for them to use all of it. Wang Daoyuan also planned to use this time to look at his harvest. He took out the aura examination technique and read it carefully. The aura examination technique was a relatively complicated secret technique. In order to unleash its full power, it required the use of divine sense and spiritual energy. At the same time, it also required the use of the eyes. Speaking of which, it could also be considered a kind of eye technique. Using divine sense and spiritual energy was not difficult for Wang Daoyuan. However, eye techniques were a bit more difficult. It required the widening of the small meridians in the eyes and injecting a large amount of divine sense and spiritual energy. If he did not use his eyes, he could also use it. However, the aura examination technique would not be complete and its effect would be greatly reduced. Wang Daoyuan had also cultivated the heaven-peering secret technique before. However, that only required the power of divine sense, which was very different from this aura examination technique. After reading the aura examination technique, Wang Daoyuan realized that his understanding of this secret technique was still too little. The aura examination technique was only the most basic way to see a person's luck. When cultivated to a high level, It could also see the luck of a force. It could even pry into heaven's secrets and predict good or bad luck. Apart from that, it could also be used to search for treasures and spiritual veins. However, if one wanted to cultivate it to a high level, they would need a matching technique. That was the core inheritance of the archaic arcanum sect. Without a matching technique, this aura examination technique could only be used to see a person's luck. Wang Daoyuan muttered in his heart. The archaic arcanum sect's aura examination technique was thought-provoking. The archaic arcanum sect was good at looking at luck. The fact that he was the son of luck could be hidden from others, but not from the archaic arcanum sect. Even if they did not dare to look at his luck, they could see the Wang clan's luck. They should have known about this long ago, but they had remained silent. Perhaps it was because they wanted to be on the same side as the Yin-Yang deity, and did not dare to take sides easily before receiving instructions from the Yin-Yang deity. Or perhaps they felt that he was born in a poor and remote place like Beiyuan and had no hope of winning. They wanted to remain silent and wait until he was defeated before taking sides. Now that he had handed over the aura examination technique, it was most likely because he saw that Su Chen was rising too quickly and had a chance of winning. First, he would throw out some useful things and form a good relationship with them. That way, he would have a way out for himself. No one knew what the archaic arcanum sect was thinking at the moment. Now that he was just a soul formation cultivator, they didn't plan on joining him. Once he reached the Grand Ascension stage or even the Mighty Figure stage, they would have to reconsider whether they should submit to him. There was no point in thinking too much. If he wanted to fully integrate Beiyuan, he would have to wait until his cultivation was higher. Right now, he was still considering the cultivation method of the aura examination technique. The risk of widening the small meridians in his eyes was not small. Furthermore, it would take a very long time to nurture it. At most it would take 100 years and at least a few decades to achieve something. Wang Daoyuan did not intend to cultivate the complete aura examination technique. It was enough as long as he could tell if others were children of providence. There was no need to spend so much effort. Just like when Patriarch Yin-Yang and Patriarch Myriad Spirits used it, he could see through his own background. He could even see through his ancestors who were many generations away. They definitely didn't have physical bodies. If an illusory weapon spirit could use it, human cultivators would naturally have no problem. Wang Daoyuan did not plan to cultivate his eyes for the time being. He only used the power of his divine sense to perform the aura examination technique. This technique was indeed passed down by a mighty figure. It was quite difficult to cultivate. Wang Daoyuan only used the power of his divine sense. After cultivating it for 3 days, he finally performed it. He first looked at Xueqi's providence. He saw that there was a purple-gold auspicious cloud with a radius of 1,000 feet above Xueqi's head. The auspicious cloud emitted thousands of auspicious qi. According to the aura examination technique, this kind of providence belonged to a mighty figure. Going one step further, the auspicious cloud would transform into the shape of a dragon. At that time, it would have the appearance of an earth immortal. Xueqi glanced at him. "Why are you looking at me with such a perverted look?" "I just learned the aura examination technique of the archaic arcanum sect. I want to see how Lord Shadow Master's providence is." Xueqi looked curious. "Tell me, what's the situation with my providence?" "It's the appearance of a mighty figure now. However, the providence of a son of providence can affect others. If you are affected by me, your providence will become stronger in the future. If you go one step further, it won't be a problem for you to become an earth immortal. So, I can also live forever in the future? If you don't want to, I don't have any objections. When you die, I will marry a few beautiful wives and concubines." Upon hearing this, Xueqi's killing intent burst out. Wang Daoyuan's heart turned cold. He immediately admitted defeat. "Lord Shadow Master, please don't be angry. I was just joking." Xueqi snorted and continued to meditate. Wang Daoyuan was relieved. He saw the providence of a soul formation cultivator with the appearance of a mighty figure. Moreover, he didn't suffer any backlash. The appearance of a mighty figure was extremely rare even in the center of the Qian Yuan realm. If such a providence didn't suffer any backlash, then other cultivators didn't need to mention it. If he wanted to cultivate the providence technique to a high level, he needed the assistance of a cultivation technique. He didn't have such a cultivation technique, so there was no need to waste time cultivating it. He put away the Providence technique and picked up the beast skin book that he had exchanged with the Tai sword sect. He didn't have many 6th-tier materials on hand, and it would take too much time to nurture them. It would be good if he could rely on this pseudo-restriction to create a pseudo-spiritual weapon. He was most familiar with defensive restrictions. He also found a pseudo-defensive restriction from the beast skin book. After careful identification, this pseudo-restriction and the real defensive restriction were of the same origin. However, there were no nomological inscriptions in the pseudo-restriction. The places that should have nomological inscriptions were replaced with tool inscriptions. Of course, tool inscriptions had different functions from nomological inscriptions. It was impossible to simply replace them. Many tool inscriptions had to be added to make up for the shortcomings. Therefore, in terms of complexity, this pseudo-restriction was much more complicated than the real restriction. It was not easy for ordinary refiners to inscribe this pseudo-restriction. However, Wang Daoyuan's blood demon clone could do it. This guy should have stayed in the spiritual pearl space for thousands of years. At the very least, he had refined over 1,000 magic tools. In terms of the foundation of the path of refining, even Lei Yen Zhenren couldn't compare to him. The two demon clones were about to undergo tribulation. It was just that it wasn't appropriate for them to undergo tribulation in Beiyuan. Beiyuan's laws and heavenly Tao rejected the demons. Once they underwent tribulation, the lightning tribulation would be far more terrifying than the human tribulation. The two demon clones weren't amazing people. Under the terrifying tribulation, it would be difficult for them to survive. When he had time, he would go to the heaven-eliminating abyss and ask his master, Guiyuan Sword Immortal, how the demons should undergo tribulation. As for the problem of this pseudo-restriction being too complicated, it was something that many soul formation ancestors of the Tai sword sect had researched after all. It was not easy to simplify it. He could only make do with it. The state of Qin wanted a 5th-tier upper-grade defensive magic weapon. When he helped the state of Qin refine the magic weapon, he could use the pseudo-restriction. He took out a 5th-tier mid-grade dragon scale. This thing was obtained when he killed the dragon species in the Sea of 7 Stars. After smelting a few 5th-tier mid-grade metal materials into the dragon scale, he began to toss the pseudo-restriction. This thing was too complicated, and it had very strict requirements for size. It was basically impossible to inscribe it. Wang Daoyuan planned to imitate the refining method of the spirit weapon, using his spiritual consciousness to condense the pseudo-restriction, and then calcine it with flames, so that the pseudo-restriction and the embryo would be completely integrated. No matter how complicated the pseudo-spirit weapon was, it didn't involve the power of laws. It was just that the consumption of spiritual consciousness was a little large. For Wang Daoyuan, it wasn't a difficult thing at all. With only one time, he successfully refined a 5th-tier upper-grade pseudo-spirit weapon shield. Then, he put it into the Xian Xian cauldron in the spiritual pearl space and slowly nurtured it. In this magic weapon, there were 2 types of restriction, defense and water resistance. It just so happened that the core inheritance of the state of Qin was also of the water attribute. With 2 magic weapons with weapon spirits by his side, it was not suitable for him to cultivate with Zhou Wan. Wang Daoyuan could only continue to ponder about the pseudo-restriction. After a few days of struggling with the pseudo-restriction, he suddenly had a bold idea. He used his reverse thinking and found the great value of this pseudo-restriction. Since the pseudo-restriction was deduced by the semi-god realm ancestor of the Tai sword sect with the restriction. Moreover, the two could play the same role, but there was a difference in strength. The pseudo-restriction and restriction with the same function must be corresponding to each other. He could also use the pseudo-restriction to reverse the restriction. Of course, it was meaningless to directly reverse the restriction. Among the top forces, the refining method of the Tai sword sect was similar to the Wind Snow Palace, which was at the bottom. Using their pseudo-restriction to reverse the restriction, they could only get a very ordinary restriction, and there were not many of them. It was meaningless to directly reverse the restriction, but they could improve the pseudo-restriction and then reverse the restriction. The real restriction involved the power of laws, and there were a large number of inscriptions of laws and wear patterns. Every restriction was in a delicate state of balance. If any wear pattern was changed, it was possible to break the balance and cause the entire restriction to collapse. Not to mention creating a new restriction, even if it was just improving the restriction, it required a deep understanding of the laws. As for those who could truly create restrictions, they were even rarer. Every single one of them was the cream of the crop among the refiners. Even for these outstanding craftsmen, It would take a lot of effort to create a restriction. A refiner might spend most of his life's effort on creating a restriction. For Wang Daoyuan, the most important thing was cultivation. He did not know when the War of Providence would start. A higher cultivation was more useful than creating a restriction. It was impossible to spend a lot of effort on the restriction. However, with this pseudo-restriction, not to mention creating one, it would be easy to improve the restriction. First, he would improve the pseudo-restriction and see the effect of the improvement. If the effect of the improved pseudo-restriction was good, he would reverse engineer the restriction from the pseudo-restriction. There was no problem with this idea. He could give it a try. If he succeeded, he would have found a shortcut to improving a real restriction. Once he was familiar with this shortcut, he would be able to use it to create a new restriction in the future. Although it was only a short 30 years in his previous life, compared to the 400 years in this life, it was nothing. However, the way of thinking of his previous life was still very useful in this life. Just like the idea of reversing the pseudo-restriction to improve the restriction. The Tai sword sect had struggled for tens of thousands of years, but they had never thought of this method. The records of the Valley of Beasts had never mentioned anything about it. If he could really succeed in this path, he might be able to open up a new path of craftsmen and become the founder. Even if he had a shortcut, he still needed to have true ability. He needed to familiarize himself with the process of deducing pseudo-restrictions. He also needed to be able to use restrictions to deduce pseudo-restrictions and reverse engineer them. The Tai sword sect had struggled for a few generations before they had this much success. It was definitely not reliable for him to do it alone. It was best to let his clone do it in the space of the Spirit Pearl. Clone Xueqi, this peak Yuanying demon, did not have enough cultivation and was unable to control the restriction. If he wanted him to work on the pseudo-restriction to reverse engineer the restriction, he had to break through to deity transformation realm first. It seemed that he had to make a trip to heaven-ending abyss as soon as possible. The laws and heavenly Tao power there were extremely weak. The suppression on the demons was very small. It was much safer for the demons to go through the tribulation there. Chapter 1047. Wang Daoyuan still had to nurture the Yin-Yang compass and Demon Slayer sword now and could not leave casually. The matter of going to Absolute Heaven Abyss could only wait until after he nurtured and played with artifacts. Right now, he could also find time to study more restrictions. The grade of a spirit artifact was also related to the number of restrictions. Although the restrictions between Tier 6 and Tier 7 spirit artifacts were different, there was no essential difference. They were all formed by law inscriptions and artifact patterns. Tier 7 spirit artifacts were just a little more complicated. The most direct difference between different grades of spirit artifacts was the number of restrictions. 1 to 9 restrictions were low-grade Tier 6 spirit artifacts. 10 to 18 restrictions were middle-grade Tier 6 spirit artifacts. Deducing from this, a high-grade Tier 7 spirit artifact had more than 45 restrictions. After that, no matter how many restrictions there were, it could only be a peak Tier 7 spirit artifact. At Tier 8, it would be an immortal artifact, having an essential difference from spirit artifacts. Because each restriction carried an extremely large amount of law power, the more restrictions there were, the greater the pressure on the artifact embryo. Inferior artifact refinement materials could not carry too many restrictions at all. The artifact refinement materials on the Dragon Turtle and Tier 6 Kuei Dragon could only carry less than 20 restrictions at most. 19 restrictions was a high-grade Tier 6 spirit artifact. Wanting to use these materials to refine a 19 restriction magic artifact, the requirement on the Artifact Refinement Master standard was too high. Without many years of polishing, it was simply impossible to do it. Furthermore, it required excellent materials, such as reverse scales, dragon pearls, and dragon horns. Wang Daoyuan also studied restrictions every day, attempting to refine higher-grade spirit artifacts. Every once in a while, he would feed the Yin-Yang compass and Demon Slayer sword large amounts of spiritual fire. Apart from this, he also gave pointers to Shen Jiuxiao and Kuei swords cultivation. Of course, there were also many Wang family disciples who came to Wang Daoyuan for guidance normally. After struggling for 3 years, the Yin-Yang compass and Demon Slayer sword finally broke through to Tier 6 one after another. Wang Daoyuan personally came to the Chamberlain of Dependencies. As Yuanying cultivators of other major factions, these two fellows naturally could not be neglected. Wang Mingchen received them as he received envoys from other countries. These two fellows were also quiet. Apart from cultivating, they did not cause any trouble. Upon sensing Wang Daoyuan's aura, he quickly came out to welcome him. Wang Daoyuan took out 2 magic tools. Senior brother Kuei Jian, brother Zhou Xiao, I've already nurtured the Demon Slayer sword and yin-yang compass. Xian Jiuxiao took the yin-yang compass and injected a trace of spiritual energy into it. A gigantic Taiji diagram appeared out of thin air, enveloping the entire chamberlain of dependencies. With the might of this Taiji diagram, even Wang Daoyuan would have to expend some effort to break it. The Kuei sword also injected a sliver of spiritual energy into the Demon Slayer sword. The long sword trembled slightly, and countless rays of sword light spread out. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly made a move to extinguish the sword light. Senior brother Kuei Jian, you have to be careful. This Demon Slayer sword doesn't recognize you as its master. If you control it carelessly, you'll hurt yourself and others. Kuei Jian laughed awkwardly. I'm really sorry. It's my first time seeing a rank 6 spirit artifact, so I got a little excited. Then, he put away the Demon Slayer sword. Wang Daoyuan instructed, right now, the spiritual energy concentration in Beiyuan Xiuxian is still too low. The cultivation of Archaic Mysteries sect and Tai Sword sect's martial uncles is also insufficient. Even with the cooperation of the artifact spirit, they are unable to fully unleash the power of the spirit artifact. Furthermore, their spiritual energy is somewhat insufficient to nurture a Tier 6 spirit artifact. Don't use these 2 spirit artifacts too frequently normally. If the spiritual energy consumption is too great, it might make their grade drop back to Tier 5 again. Xian Jiuxiao hurriedly retracted the power of the yin-yang compass, not daring to consume too much. Many thanks to elder brother this time. After disturbing you for another 2 years, it's time to return to Archaic Mysteries sect. Farewell. The Kuei sword wanted to continue eating and drinking here, but Xian Jiuxiao had already left. He was also embarrassed to stay. Junior brother Daoan, I'll take my leave too. Wang Daoyuan still planned to make a trip to heaven-decimating abyss, so he did not urge them to stay. Senior brother Kuei Jian, brother Zhou Xiao, have a safe journey. With their strength, coupled with a Tier 6 spirit artifact, no one could threaten them outside of the state of Yen. Wang Daoyuan returned to the Imperial study, took out a high-grade Tier 5 dragon-scale shield, and handed it to Wang Mingchen. This is the shield that I helped the state of Qin refine. Pseudo-restrictions are used inside. The power of this shield far surpasses ordinary high-grade Tier 5 magic artifacts. This is also considered selling a favor to the state of Qin. You send the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce's experts to send this magic artifact to the state of Qin. At that time, the state of Qin's royal family should know what I mean. The meaning of doing so was to let the state of Qin allow the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce to enter, as a way to repay the favor. Wang Mingchen's eyes lit up. Father Emperor's move is brilliant. The relationship between the state of Qin and our Wang family is pretty good. It's just that the 2 families don't have much interaction, and there's no exchange of interests. The Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce wanted to enter the state of Qin and had never found an opportunity to make a move. Borrowing this favor now, the state of Qin's side should not refuse. Even the state of Qin had the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce's shops. All of the powerful countries in Beiyuan were covered by the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce. The remaining small countries are nothing to be afraid of. We can just let the branches of the Blood Shadow hang the flag of the state of Yen and give them some benefits. No one will dare to say anything. Wang Daoyuan nodded. A big force needs strong enough pillars, good enough inheritances, sufficient resources and industries, and a perfect system. Our Wang family has me and your mother, as well as the inheritance of the Valley of Beasts. The industry is the best in Beiyuan. The only thing we lack is a mature inheritance system. If we completely take over the Blood Shadow, the last shortcoming of our Wang family will be filled. Only when Beiyuan is free of worries can I run the Sea of 7 Stars with peace of mind. You still need to suppress your cultivation. Don't be in a hurry to break through. Yuanying is the foundation of the primordial spirit. The more stable the foundation when forming the nascent soul, the higher the upper limit of Yuanying when breaking through to the soul formation realm. It's not too late to break the core and form the nascent soul when there's no room for improvement. I think so too. That's why I haven't been in a hurry to break through. Your mother and I are going to make a trip to the headquarters of the Blood Shadow. Ming Ran and Ming Xian are still immature. Take care of them. Let them suffer a bit. They are still childish now, but it will be troublesome when they become playboys in the future. After saying that, he left the imperial study and returned to the Changle Palace. Seeing that Xueqi was meditating and cultivating, he didn't disturb her. After waiting for a long time, Xueqi woke up. Wang Daoyuan smiled. I've already helped the Archaic Mystery Sect and the Tai Sword Sect to nurture their artifacts. There's nothing else for now. I plan to make a trip to the Decimating Heaven Abyss. You can also go back to the headquarters of the Blood Shadow. Why are you going to the Decimating Heaven Abyss again? It's time for the 2 devil clones to undergo their tribulation. We can't let them undergo their tribulation in Beiyuan. Xueqi nodded slightly. That's good. I also want to take a look at the headquarters of the Blood Shadow. If I don't go back for a long time, some people might have other ideas. The two sat on Lei Peng's flying boat and flew towards the south. After staying on the flying boat for less than a day, Xueqi was a bit annoyed. I've been staying on the flying boat all day. I'm sick of it. Let me enter the space of the spiritual pearl. Wang Daoyuan naturally knew what Xueqi was thinking. She was hungry again and wanted to go into the space of the spiritual pearl to eat something delicious. Wang Daoyuan didn't refuse and directly put her into the space of the spiritual pearl. His own primordial spirit also followed in. The flying boat was controlled by the 2 clones, so he didn't need to trouble himself. After entering the space of the spiritual pearl, he saw that the expansion speed of the water area had increased again. After a few years, the total area of the water area had reached 3,000 mu. On average, it could increase 400 mu of water area every year. In addition to the original 500 mu of spiritual fields and fish ponds, the total area exceeded 3,500 mu. The small spiritual vein beside the immeasurable true water was already high grade of the 4th level. Its length had reached 300 meters. Black Dragon was also at the peak of the 3rd level. Relying on its inherited memories, it could already fly for a short period of time. At this time, it was playing in the water area at the edge of the spiritual pearl's space. Sometimes, it would even leave the water and fly for a distance. The 3 jade water gourd seeds that it had planted before had all survived. Now, the gourd vine was more than 3 meters long and wrapped around the spiritual wood beside it. Its grade had also reached low grade of the 5th level. It was just that there were no signs of flowers or fruits yet. Wang Daoyuan wasn't in a hurry at all. Instead, he hoped that the flowers and fruits would be later so that the gourd produced would be of a higher grade. Black Dragon felt Wang Daoyuan and Xueqi's auras and quickly flew over. It withdrew its body that was more than 30 meters long and turned into a 4 to 5 feet long little black dragon. It landed in front of Wang Daoyuan. Father, I haven't seen you in a long time. Wang Daoyuan was a little surprised. This little guy hadn't broken through to the 4th level yet and had already learned to speak. How did you learn to speak so early? The density of my divine beast bloodline is high, so I'm naturally much stronger than those half-divine beasts. Also, I've eaten a lot of the demonic soul grass you planted. The demonic soul grass could increase the intelligence of demons. Black Dragon's foundation wasn't weak to begin with. Coupled with the effects of the demonic soul grass, it wasn't surprising that it could speak. You should hurry up and cultivate. After transcending the 4th level heavenly tribulation, your bloodline can still improve further. At that time, you'll awaken more inherited memories, and your cultivation speed will be even faster. After Black Dragon said a few words to Wang Daoyuan, it ran to Xueqi to curry favor. Xueqi was overjoyed to hear him call her mother. Black Dragon had been clever since he was young. In the spiritual pearl space, there was a clone teaching him, so he naturally wasn't bad now. After staying in the spiritual pearl space for more than 100 days, the flying boat arrived at Blood Shadow's headquarters. Wang Daoyuan and Xueqi left the spiritual pearl space, put away the flying boat, and landed in the small valley above Blood Shadow's headquarters. At this time, there were more than a dozen elders in the valley waiting for them. First Elder Zhang Yu, Second Elder Chao Jing, and Third Elder Wang Daojian were among them. The other Hall Masters were also here. As soon as the 2 of them landed, everyone bowed. Greetings, Shadow Lord. Greetings, Your Majesty. Xueqi waved her hand gently. No need to be so polite. Let's talk in the headquarters. More than a dozen elders led the way, each with a smile on their faces. Wang Daoyuan could understand their feelings. Ever since Blood Shadow was established, It had been pretending to be weak in front of the Divine Weapon Pavilion and other top forces. Even if it accepted assassination missions, it didn't dare to touch the disciples of the top forces. Although it wasn't suppressed, Blood Shadow's strength was about the same as the great Zhou countries. There was still a gap between them and the top forces. Now that Xueqi had become a soul formation cultivator, she was also the second soul formation cultivator in Beiyuan Xiuxian in 20,000 years. The strongest cultivators of the four top forces, including the Divine Weapon Pavilion, were only in the late or middle Yuanying stage. On the surface, Blood Shadow's strength had surpassed the four top forces. After being suppressed for more than 70,000 years, it finally had a chance to be proud. After entering the headquarters of Blood Shadow, Wang Daoyuan accompanied Xueqi to the conference hall. All the elders were waiting there. Seeing them come in, they bowed together. "Congratulations, Shadow Lord and Your Majesty, for reaching the soul formation realm. Your great Tao is within reach." Xueqi nodded. "Elders, you don't have to be so courteous." Wang Daoyuan had been to the conference hall before. At that time, the elders of Blood Shadow were very respectful to him, but there was always a hint of hostility. They were not convinced that an outsider was acting like a tyrant in the headquarters of Blood Shadow. This time, there was only respect left for these elders. There was no trace of hostility left. Instead, there was a hint of flattery. As the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce merged with the branches of Blood Shadow, the headquarters' power was getting smaller and smaller. The attitudes of these elders also changed. In the past, they looked down on the Yen Kingdom. Now, they planned to integrate with the Yen Kingdom. Chapter 1048. Wang Daoyuan and Xueqi sat down on the main seats. The Blood Shadow elder, Zhang Yu, took out a few animal skin books. "Shadow Master, these are the records of the various affairs we handled after you left the headquarters. There are also records of the use of various resources and personnel. Please take a look." Xueqi took the animal skin books and read the contents one by one. In the years since she left, there were no obvious abnormalities in the finances, personnel, and resource allocation of the Blood Shadow sect. It could be seen that no one in the headquarters stirred up trouble while the Shadow Master was away. Xueqi looked for a long time before she nodded. "When I was away, I was very pleased that all the elders were loyal to their duties. Is there anything else to report?" Then, the hall masters began to report the important matters they handled. The three elders also reported some important matters. Because the Shadow Master was away, they didn't dare to act rashly. After half a day, they finally finished dealing with the matters. The elders left. Wang Daoyuan and Xueqi returned to the small courtyard of the Zhou family. Not long after, Wang Daojian came to visit. Wang Daoyuan welcomed him in. "Not bad. You've reached the peak of the Golden Core realm, managing the headquarters of the Blood Shadow sect without any mistakes. It's not bad that it doesn't affect your cultivation." Wang Daojian smiled. "Compared to my seventh brother and seventh sister-in-law, you're far behind. You've both reached the soul formation realm. I heard that you've reached the soul formation realm and killed all the grand monster kings of the demon clan. You also took care of a rank 6 dragon turtle that had lived for 20,000 years. I couldn't believe it until the soul formation ceremony. Then I was sure. The Wang family suddenly has 2 soul formation cultivators. The throne of the most powerful force in Beiyuan is secured." "Did the headquarters of the Blood Shadow sect do anything big while your seventh sister-in-law and I were away?" Wang Daojian shook his head. "The Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce is annexing more and more branches of the Blood Shadow sect. More than half of the branches have been integrated into the Wanchuan market. The remaining branches have mostly discussed with the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. Now they have 2 masters. They may not listen to the orders of the headquarters at any time. Actually, Blood Shadow's headquarters no longer had any control over the various branches. A few elders also expressed their dissatisfaction and wanted to draw a clear line with the Yen Kingdom, but most of the elders were still friendly to the Yen Kingdom. Some of the elders had even expressed their willingness to join the Yen Kingdom. Even if they were to occupy a small spirit vein, it would be better than being a rat in the Blood Shadow headquarters. If he had said such words in the past, he would have been severely punished. But now that I've said it out loud, no one will object at all, let alone punish him severely. Upon hearing this, Wang Daoyuan understood what was going on. Blood Shadow's headquarters had basically accepted the fact that they were a vassal of the Yen Kingdom. Most people thought it was reasonable for Blood Shadow to merge into the Yen Kingdom. However, after thinking about it, it was clear that Blood Shadow was supported by the Zhang and Su families. Since these two pillars of support had gone to the Yen Kingdom to be the prefects, it was only natural that others would have their own ideas. After all, being an assassin was a dangerous job. Moreover, the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce earned far less than what they earned. The Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce earned spirit stones openly. With the Yen Kingdom as their backing, the risk was much lower. He nodded in satisfaction. It seems that Blood Shadow is about to mature. As long as we guide it deliberately, it will only take a few years to completely swallow Blood Shadow. Xueqi looked curious. How should we guide it? It's not difficult. We'll suppress those cultivators who are still hostile to the Yen Kingdom a little. As for those who want to join the Yen Kingdom, we'll promote and reward them. Now that Blood Shadow has merged into the Yen Kingdom, it's impossible for a few grumbling elders to stop this momentum. The current situation was that smart people knew what was going to happen next, but no one wanted to say it. Once Blood Shadow merged into the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce, the 70,000-year foundation would be gone. Whoever said that would bear the infamy of destroying the 70,000-year foundation. At the end of the day, immortal cultivators also needed reputation. If a Blood Shadow disciple was dissatisfied in the future, whoever brought up this matter would be criticized behind their backs. What we need to do is add fuel to the fire and let the voices of Blood Shadow's headquarters merging into the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce become louder and louder. In the end, we'll let the low-level cultivators form a consensus and force the higher-ups. Most of the higher-ups are our people. When the time comes, we'll follow the people's wishes and it'll be reasonable for Blood Shadow to merge into the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce. We can also arrange for some low-level cultivators to publicize the lives of the Blood Shadow disciples who join the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce. I think the disciples of the Chamber of Commerce will live better than the low-level disciples of Blood Shadow. Wang Daojian also praised, "Seventh brother, this is a good idea. Suppress those grumbling elders and reward those disciples who want to join the Yen Kingdom. This is a subtle way to express the higher-ups' intentions. I know a lot about the situation at the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce. The living conditions of the low-level disciples are much better than those of Blood Shadow. As long as we send someone to publicize it, the low-level disciples of Blood Shadow's headquarters will definitely be willing to join the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce. When most of the disciples agree to join the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce, the higher-ups will nod their heads and push the boat with the current. The infamy of destroying Blood Shadow's tens of thousands of years of foundation will not fall on the higher-ups. You can go and deal with these matters. You can find the elders of the Zhang and Su families. After all, they have a deep foundation in Blood Shadow's headquarters. Even if most of their clansmen have moved to the Yen Kingdom, they should still have many trusted subordinates at the bottom. With them taking action, it will also be more convenient to handle this matter." Wang Daojian nodded and said, "Seventh brother, rest assured. I'll handle this matter beautifully." Finished talking, he left the small courtyard. Xueqi activated the various restrictions in the small courtyard and asked, "When are you planning to go to Decimating Heaven Abyss?" "I was planning to stay here for a few days before heading to Decimating Heaven Abyss. Looking at it now, there isn't much time left to annex Blood Shadow. I'll stay for a period of time and wait for the overall situation to be settled. A few years ago, in order to nurture magic artifacts, I delayed my cultivation. Now that I'm free, let's cultivate properly." After Wang Daojian left the Zhou family's small courtyard, he communicated with the elders of the Zhang and Su families. These two families already had a county of land in the Yen Kingdom and had boundless prospects. They naturally cooperated fully. Wang Daoyuan also sent a message to Wang Mingchen, letting those disciples from Blood Shadow's headquarters in the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce send a message to their acquaintances at the headquarters to show off. After a few days, discussions started everywhere in Blood Shadow's headquarters. In a forest north of Blood Shadow City, more than a dozen bare-chested brawny men were resting. Among them, a man with a curly beard sighed, "Cutting down spiritual trees is really not easy. Even if we risk our lives, we'll only get 200 or so spiritual stones a month." A simple and honest-looking cultivator next to him said, "Big Brother Li, you're wrong. Thinking back to when Zhang family was in power, we'd be secretly happy if we could get 100 spiritual stones a month. Ever since Shadow Master took care of Zhang family, he got more spiritual stones than before. Cultivators like us who don't have a future don't have extravagant hopes of increasing our cultivation. 200 spiritual stones is enough. It's not a problem to feed a family. The curly-bearded man was unconvinced. I used to think so too, but a distant cousin of mine is working in Wu Country's Zhanzhou branch and has now become a member of Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce. His talent and cultivation are inferior to mine, and he doesn't have any skills. He can only rely on his strength to earn spiritual stones. Before he joined Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce, he only got a few dozen spiritual stones a month. But he's helping Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce to dig ore, so his work isn't as heavy as ours. He needs at least 500 spiritual stones a month, and if he finds good ore, he'll be rewarded. Adding everything together, he can only get 1,000 spiritual stones a month at most. As soon as he said that, the other dozen or so strong men also became interested. Big Brother Li, are you serious? How can it be fake? Old Chen, that cousin of mine is called Qi Zheng. You should know him, right? The cultivator surnamed Chen nodded repeatedly. How can I not know that kid? Let's play naked together. He's been the stupidest since he was young, and his cultivation was always one step slower than mine. He's also a bit of a glutton and lazy. He couldn't survive in the headquarters, so he followed a Zifu realm cultivator to a small branch in Wu Country to make a living. I heard that he wasn't valued and didn't have a good life. Now he's so rich? The curly-bearded man sighed. Isn't that so? It's because the branch in Wu Country has already joined Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce. The treatment there is much better than here. That idiot is earning much more spiritual stones than us. Last time, he even wrote to me to show off that he already has 3 concubines. Hearing this, everyone's eyes turned red. They all worked hard, but they were barely able to support their families. They were only willing to eat spirit grains. Why was he able to eat, drink, and even have concubines? Just as they were filled with righteous indignation, an early Zifu realm cultivator walked over. No one dared to say anything. The early Zifu realm cultivator let out a long sigh. Don't complain. You can't compare to those branch cultivators, but aren't I the same? I've established my Zifu 30 years ago, but I'm still very far from the middle Zifu realm. Ever since I established my Zifu, I've been the manager of this large forest. Every month, I only earn 1,000 spiritual stones. Apart from my daily cultivation, how many spiritual stones do I have left? Even now, I don't even have enough spiritual stones to forge a life-bound magic tool. How can I be considered a Zifu realm cultivator? The former vice hallmaster of the Sichuan branch of the state of Qi, Mo Lei, grew up with me, but his cultivation was always one step slower than mine. 60 years ago, he was only at the 8th level of foundation establishment. He followed a blood wolf disciple to the Sichuan branch. He established his Zifu 10 years earlier than me. In less than 10 years, he gathered enough spiritual stones and forged a life-bound magic tool. His cultivation is already at the middle Zifu realm, and he's not far from the late Zifu realm. Right now, he's the president of a second-level branch of the Myriad Rivers conglomerate. On the surface, he earns 6,000 to 7,000 spiritual stones a month. As the president of a branch, he's in charge of a branch. How can he not earn money? It's not hard for him to earn several tens of thousands of spiritual stones a month. I heard that the Myriad Rivers conglomerate only needs to make a few contributions to exchange for most spiritual items of the 4th rank and below. Foundation establishment pills and amethyst pills are all on sale. As for magic tools, there's no need to even mention them. 4th rank magic tools are on sale without limit, and if you make a great contribution, you can even purchase 5th rank magic tools. This kid hasn't taken a wife yet. He's already preparing to form his gold core. Hearing this, the others all sighed in despair. Happiness came from competition. Of course, frustration came from competition as well. Those people who had been inferior to them in all aspects had suddenly climbed above them. No one would feel comfortable. The curly-bearded man stepped forward and said fawningly, "Lord Manager, you're a Zifu realm cultivator. Do you have any connections? We've followed you for several decades, and we've made a fortune together." The early Zifu realm cultivator looked around and whispered, "I really do have a way. The Myriad Rivers conglomerate is clearly trying to swallow up all of the Blood Shadow branches. We can request to be transferred to a branch that hasn't been swallowed up yet. In a few years, we'll be members of the Myriad Rivers conglomerate." I have an old friend who's a vice hallmaster of a second-level branch in the state of Yong. There's a vacancy for a vice hallmaster there. Not long ago, he sent me a letter and asked me to be his vice hallmaster. It just so happens that I don't have many subordinates, so I can take you there. Chapter 1049. The moment the Zifu realm cultivator said this, the others perked up. The bearded man hurriedly asked, "Are you serious? Steward Liu, we've been following you for decades. You can't leave us behind when there's such a good thing." Steward Liu smiled. According to the rules of the headquarters, Zifu realm cultivators can take as many foundation establishment cultivators as they want. I need my own team when I go there. Although your talent isn't good, you were all nurtured by me. It's more reliable than recruiting rogue cultivators. I've already applied to the elders in charge of the various branches to be the vice hall master of the Yong nation. I should get a reply in a few days. Everyone's faces were filled with hope. As long as they could work in the branches and join the Myriad Rivers Merchant Guild, they could easily earn 1,000 spirit stones a month. At the headquarters, they were at the bottom and could be bullied by anyone. But at the branches, the people from the headquarters were naturally superior. Even if they didn't join the Myriad Rivers Merchant Guild, their lives were better than at the headquarters. The only downside was that they had to take a lot of risks. Now that the branches were about to join the Myriad Rivers Merchant Guild, they wouldn't have to fight in the future. Less work, higher pay, and no risk. Who wouldn't want to do such a job? After Steward Liu's words, everyone's hearts, which had long been numb, burned with passion again. Even when they were chopping wood, they felt especially energetic. Most of the low-level disciples in the Blood Shadow headquarters had this idea. The Zifu realm cultivators who had some connections all pulled strings to leave the headquarters and work in the branches. The Foundation establishment cultivators fought to join the Zifu realm cultivators, hoping to be taken away. Of course, it wasn't just ordinary cultivators who wanted to work in the branches. There were also the disciples of the elders. In the Blood Shadow headquarters, even the vice hall masters of the branches could become mid-level managers after joining the Myriad Rivers Merchant Guild. Most of the elders in the Blood Shadow headquarters wanted to join, but they couldn't bring themselves to do so. However, it was still good to secretly arrange for the juniors of their Zifu realm disciples to go over first. There were 20 to 30 elders with real power in the Blood Shadow headquarters. Coupled with a large number of elders with no duties, the few remaining branches couldn't take in all of them. Even the descendants of elders with no duties couldn't get a position, let alone Zifu realm cultivators with no background. 2 days later, Steward Liu arrived at the forest north of the Blood Shadow City in a daze. Seeing him like this, the group of Foundation establishment cultivators hurried forward to greet him. The curly-bearded burly man hurriedly asked, "Lord Steward, what happened to you?" Seeing that there was no one else around, Steward Liu scolded, "These elders are really shameless. Someone suggested that we Blood Shadow directly submit to the Yen Kingdom. At that time, all the elders would be given a piece of land. Us middle and low-level disciples can also get a good job. At least cultivation resources won't be a problem." However, those elders often mentioned the ancestors of Blood Shadow, and said that they couldn't just give up on the foundation of over 70,000 years. They spoke as if they were filial sons and grandsons. But what was the result? Now, they were all fighting to send their children and grandchildren to the various branches, waiting to join the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce. This group of old bastards, they just set up a memorial arch and now they're selling it. How disgusting. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. After a long time, the bearded man asked, "So, you can't work in the branch?" Steward Liu nodded dejectedly. The headquarters can't even manage the branches that have joined the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce, let alone plant people there. They can only plant the branches that haven't been annexed by the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. Among the big countries, only the Qin Kingdom's branch hasn't been annexed. The other small countries don't have many branches to begin with. A group of elders want to send their children and grandchildren over, but they can't do so at all. A Zifu realm cultivator like me without a backer can't compete with them at all. The bearded man cursed angrily. This group of old bastards is really bad. Can't the entire Blood Shadow just submit to them? The Shadow Lord is the Yen Kingdom's Empress Dowager, and the 2 Grand Elders are the Yen Kingdom's prefects. If we submit to them directly, we won't be suppressed. At that time, everyone will work in the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce, and the treatment will be much better than now. Steward Liu sneered. If we don't submit to the Yen Kingdom, they will have great power and can do whatever they want. Once we submit to them, the Yen Kingdom will have the final say. Even if they are given good treatment, they can't continue to exploit the ordinary disciples for benefits. They will maintain the Blood Shadow headquarters themselves and let their children and grandchildren submit to them. This is a bet on both sides. They will continue to exploit us at the headquarters, and their children and grandchildren will enjoy the benefits of the Wan Chuan Chamber of Commerce. No matter what happens in the future, they will be fine. What can we, the middle and low-level disciples, do? We can only be bullied by them. At this moment, a red-faced man cursed angrily. These old bastards really want to bully us for generations. We can't just sit there and do nothing. What else can we do? In the eyes of those Golden Core elders, a Zifu realm cultivator like me is nothing. What can you do? The red-faced man snorted. Steward Liu, have you forgotten how we destroyed the Zhang family decades ago? Of course I won't forget. I was there when we caused a ruckus in the finance hall. If we hadn't caused such a ruckus, the higher-ups wouldn't have decided to kill Zhang Dingyi. After Zhang Dingming became the Grand Elder, the Zhang family was unable to recover and could only submit to the Yen Kingdom. Do you want to cause another ruckus and force the elders to agree to Blood Shadow joining the Yen Kingdom? The red-faced man nodded. Although the middle and low-level disciples are insignificant, once we work together, even the Shadow Lord won't dare to look down on us. Which of us brothers don't have relatives? There are many people who don't like these elders. If we go and talk to them, it won't be a problem to pull up a few hundred low-level cultivators. When the time comes, we'll go to the conference hall and petition. Although those elders aren't good people, the Shadow Lord is really thinking of us low-level disciples. Now that she's back, those elders won't dare to go too far. Perhaps we can use this opportunity to force those elders to agree to Blood Shadow joining the Yen Kingdom. We can also become members of the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce. Steward Liu thought for a long time before nodding solemnly. If we continue to stay in Blood Shadow's headquarters, we'll only be Zifu realm cultivators for the rest of our lives. It's better to take a gamble. It's fine if we fail. The Shadow Lord is benevolent and won't kill us all. It's just that we lose this position. There's nothing to gain from it anyway. It's fine if we lose it. If we succeed, we'll have done a great service in the Yen Kingdom. There will be many benefits. If we succeed, we'll be rich and powerful. Even if we fail, how bad can it be? You go and contact some reliable acquaintances. I'll go and contact some unsuccessful Zifu realm cultivators. We'll go and petition together. In the next few days, the low-level disciples of Blood Shadow contacted each other. Wang Daojian and the Zhang and Su clans fanned the flames. The higher-ups all pretended to be ignorant. This increased the confidence of the low-level disciples. More than 10 days later, thousands of Foundation Establishment and Qi Refinement disciples, as well as more than 100 Zifu realm cultivators, gathered in front of the conference hall. Even when Zhang Dingyi was killed last time, only 1,000 people showed up. This time, thousands of people were mobilized. The conference hall was almost completely surrounded by these people. A middle-stage Zifu realm cultivator with graying temples walked forward and shouted towards the conference hall. Lord Shadow Lord, we beg you to allow Blood Shadow to join the Yen Kingdom. If you're not willing, please allow us to leave Blood Shadow and join the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce. As soon as he spoke, the many cultivators behind him also shouted. The commotion outside naturally couldn't be hidden from the cultivators in the conference hall. Xueqi sighed. There are thousands of disciples outside the conference hall who are petitioning for Blood Shadow to join the Yen Kingdom. Elders, what do you think? At this moment, all the elders fell silent. Whoever spoke would have to bear the blame. Those elders who didn't want Blood Shadow to join the Yen Kingdom didn't know what Xueqi meant, so they didn't dare to speak rashly. After a long time, Xueqi said, since all the elders are unwilling to speak, let's go out and listen to what the disciples have to say. Xueqi walked out of the conference hall with dozens of elders. Seeing the people kneeling outside the conference hall, she asked, why do you want to join the Yen Kingdom? The cultivator with graying temples bowed and said, Greetings, Lord Shadow Lord. A few days ago, some friends and relatives who joined the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce sent a letter. In the past, they couldn't stay in the headquarters and had to go to the branch to make a living. Now they are all stronger than us. Any cultivator of the same level can earn 5 times more than us. It's the same for those rogue cultivators who don't have any abilities. We cultivators were born in the headquarters and don't want to leave Blood Shadow. However, we are cultivators after all. We have to improve our strength and let our families live better. If we continue to stay in the headquarters, we can only barely feed our families by working hard every day. Increasing our cultivation can only be done slowly, and we can't bear to eat any spiritual items. Our lives are worse than those of rogue cultivators. There was no point in continuing to stay here. Subordinates have been Blood Shadow's people for 3 generations, and I have worked for it for 300 years. 3 generations have never done anything to betray Blood Shadow. We only ask Lord Shadow Lord to give us a way out. At this moment, an elder with no duties spoke out. Impudent! You people are really lawless. For tens of thousands of years, Blood Shadow has relied on its ability to make a living. If you have the ability, you will be treated well. If you have a golden core cultivation and become an elder, do you think you won't be able to live? A Peak Violet Palace Realm cultivator cursed, Chen Ming, you old fool, don't bullshit here. Others might not know you, but do you think I don't know your background? You are a 3 spiritual roots cultivator with less than 7 inches of main spiritual root. Your talent can't compare to mine. In the past, you were Zhang Dingyi's dog and earned a lot of money. You bought a few 4th grade magic tools to pass the core formation Heavenly Tribulation. I reached Peak Violet Palace Realm more than 100 years ago, 50 years earlier than you. I worked hard to earn spirit stones over the past 100 years, but even now, it's not enough to buy a 4th grade magic tool. If a low-level disciple wants to break through, he can spend his whole life without a magic tool to resist the Heavenly Tribulation. Now that you are at core formation, you don't need to do anything and you can earn tens of thousands of spirit stones in a month. You are full of sarcastic remarks. A full man doesn't know the hunger of a hungry man. The disciples became even more agitated and shouted in unison, Shadow Lord, please give us a way out. Shadow Lord, please give us a way out. Looking at this situation, the expressions of the elders were very interesting. The elders who had settled down in the Yen Empire acted as if it had nothing to do with them. In any case, they would have a good life in the Yen Empire. The Zhang and Su clans, as well as the elders who went to Zhouwan, had nothing to worry about. But Blood Shadow had many ambitious elders, thinking that with the Zhang and Su clans gone, they could seize the opportunity to rise. Just like the Zhang and Su clans, they could turn Blood Shadow into their private property. At the very least, they could take charge of a few businesses and turn them into their private property. The elders who stopped Blood Shadow from joining the Yen Empire were mainly these people. Their faces were ugly. Once Blood Shadow joined the Yen Empire, they would have no right to speak. But they didn't dare to oppose now. They all saw Chen Ming's end. Whether Blood Shadow joined the Yen Empire or not, his future was over. No one's ass was clean. If they were exposed, their reputation would be ruined. Chapter 1050. At this moment, Zhouwan asked, Elders, what do you think? All the elders kept quiet out of fear. None of them dared to speak up. The gray-haired cultivator spoke again. We ask Shadow Master to let Blood Shadow join the Yen Kingdom. Elders, do you agree to our request without saying a word? As soon as these words were spoken, some of the elders' expressions changed. No matter how stupid they were, they knew that something was wrong. How could a mediocre Zifu realm cultivator dare to say something like that? She then looked at Zhouwan's calm appearance, as if she had long been prepared. The Zhang and Su family elders didn't care either. They were most likely the ones who instigated this. Now, the disciples and elders who were willing to join the Yen Kingdom were fighting with the elders who weren't. The judge was Zhouwan, the Empress Dowager of the Yen Kingdom. The outside support was Wang Daoyuan, the retired emperor of the Yen Kingdom. From the opponent to the judge to the outside support, they were all people of the Yen Kingdom. How could they fight? At this moment, a golden core middle stage elder said, Shadow Master, since the low-level disciples are willing to join the Yen Kingdom and the elders agree, let's do it. A late-stage Zifu realm cultivator quickly said, Elder Wu Cheng is right. Since no one is against it, it means that everyone agrees. Wu Cheng wasn't from the Blood Wolf supervisor Wu Xiang's clan. Wu Xiang was also a high-ranking member of Blood Shadow. Besides, the Wu family had also joined the Yen Kingdom. Elder Wu was just an ordinary elder who didn't belong to the direct line of descent. He was also an ambitious person who wanted a piece of the pie after the Zhang and Su families fell. Now that Blood Shadows joining the Yan Kingdom was a foregone conclusion, his dream of getting a piece of the pie had been shattered. If he didn't do anything now, he could only be an idler in the Yan Kingdom. If he wanted better treatment in the future, this was the last chance to show off. The other elders who had the same idea immediately understood and agreed with Blood Shadows joining the Yan Kingdom. With this group of people taking the lead, someone would take the blame. The other elders also took the opportunity to step down. In a moment, all the low-level disciples and elders agreed to join the Yan Kingdom. Xueqi waved her hand gently, and the crowd quieted down instantly. She let out a long sigh. Since all the disciples and elders have no objections, then I, as the Shadow Master, can only follow the wishes of the people. I will contact the Yan Kingdom as soon as possible and ask them to send people to the headquarters to take over Blood Shadow's properties and settle the elders and disciples down. The Blood Shadow disciples gathered around the meeting hall all bowed and said, "The Shadow Lord is wise. The Shadow Lord is wise." Even the elders bowed and shouted in unison along with the disciples. After a long time, the crowd gradually dispersed. Wang Daoyuan also breathed a sigh of relief. It had been more than 200 years since he had arranged for the Wang family members to enter the Shanbei branch. Back then, he had only wanted to take control of a few branches so that he could get enough information. Later on, he had broken through to Yuanying and helped Xueqi become the Shadow Master. All because he wanted the Wang family to surpass the Zhang family and the Su family in Blood Shadow. Using Blood Shadow's inheritance system to nurture talents for the Wang family. Later on, when he found out that he was the son of Providence, he thought of taking Blood Shadow as his subordinate. After so many years of planning, the fruit that was Blood Shadow had finally ripened and could be harvested. He sent a message to Wang Mingchen and told him that Blood Shadow had decided to integrate into the Yan Kingdom. There was no need to worry about the rest. The Yan Kingdom's imperial court would take care of it. There were already many Wang family members in Blood Shadow's headquarters. In addition, the Zhang family and the Su family had already submitted. The Yan Kingdom knew the basic information of all the higher-ups of Blood Shadow like the back of their hand. Now that Blood Shadow had decided to submit, the treatment of these higher-ups was urgently needed. As long as these higher-ups were satisfied, they would be transferred to Qingli City. No matter how capable they were, they would not be able to do much. When the time came, Wang Daojian and the Wang family members who had already joined Blood Shadow would just have to look after the headquarters. In the future, Blood Shadow would be a first-class branch of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce, mainly responsible for doing business in the southern wilderness. Other than taking care of those properties, they did not need much manpower. After evacuating the extra manpower, Blood Shadow would disappear completely. More than 10 days later, a few flying ships flew from the north to the sky above Blood Shadow's headquarters. These were the people sent by the Yan Kingdom to take over Blood Shadow's headquarters. Wang Daojian led a few elders to welcome them. Soon, he led a group of more than 20 people to the conference hall of Blood Shadow's headquarters. The head was the 12th uncle, Wang Shui. He was the Yan Kingdom's prime minister and an elder. He was the most suitable person to represent the Yan Kingdom's imperial court. The deputy was the vice president of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce, Wang Mingkong. He was originally the general manager of the Department of Commerce in the Finance Palace. Later on, he was the one who led the establishment of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. He was also in charge of the main affairs of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. Wang Mingchen needed to cultivate and deal with the various affairs of the Yan Kingdom. He did not have much energy to manage the Chamber of Commerce. The real leader of the Chamber of Commerce was still Wang Mingkong. The others were all members of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. Some of them were from the Wang family, and some were from the various branches of Blood Shadow. Wang Daoyuan and Xueqi sat high up in the main seats. After everyone entered, they bowed to the two of them. Greetings to the retired Emperor and Empress Dowager. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "No need to be so polite. Just follow Mingchen's arrangements." Wang Shi nodded and took out a bright yellow scroll. "This is the Imperial Edict of His Majesty." The elders of Blood Shadow immediately bowed and listened to the Imperial Edict. The general content of the Imperial Edict was, Blood Shadow's headquarters would be changed to the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce's Bibo Sea branch. It would be a first-class branch, mainly in charge of the commerce in the southern wilderness. The branch president of the Bibo Sea branch would also be the vice president of the headquarters. Zhang Yu, Chao Jing, Wang Daojian, and Wu Xiang had the highest positions in Blood Shadow. Wang Daojian and Wu Xiang would be the vice presidents of the headquarters, while Zhang Yu and Chao Jing would continue to be the first and second elders. The headquarters would also need to follow the structure of Blood Shadow's headquarters and set up the Finance Palace, Punishment Palace, General Affairs Palace, and so on. The elders with real power in Blood Shadow's headquarters could be the Palace Master or Vice Palace Master in these institutions. The rest of the elders with no responsibilities could be used according to their talents. They could be the managers of the important businesses of the Chamber of Commerce, or they could continue to be the elders with no responsibilities. After the imperial edict was read out, First Elder Zhang Yu took it. Zhou Wan took out a stack of beast skin books and a seal. This is the list of all the businesses and personnel of Blood Shadow, as well as the seal of the Blood Shadow Lord. Wang Mingkong quickly stepped forward and took the beast skin books and the seal after bowing. Then, they began to discuss some details. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan naturally didn't need to stay here, so they returned to the Zhou family's courtyard. Chao Jing cupped his hands and said, "I don't have much time left, so I don't have the energy to manage the Chamber of Commerce anymore. I just want to get an official position in the Yen Kingdom's imperial court and enjoy the rest of my life." Wang Shui smiled and said, "His Majesty has already ordered that all the elders can work in the Yen Kingdom's imperial court or the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. In addition, all the elders were able to obtain a spiritual vein of at least level 4 in Shanbei or Linhai Prefecture. Now that the demon race has been driven away, if you are interested, you can also ask for an island in the East Sea to build your own family. In the future, the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce will also set up a branch there. Now, the only demon race in Beiyuan that can make a name for themselves is the West Sea Demon Race. There are guards from the Archaic Mysteries Sect, the Tai Sword Sect, and the Wind Snow Divine Palace. Among them, the Archaic Mysteries Sect and the Tai Sword Sect have level 6 magic artifacts, so it won't be a problem to block the demon beasts. In the next hundreds or even thousands of years, there won't be any major turmoil in the territories of the various countries. By then, there will be more and more cultivators. One day, the inland won't be able to carry so many cultivators. Countless itinerant cultivators will flood into the East Sea. Now that we have established our families there, it can be considered an opportunity. Wang Mingchen wanted to lure these elders to develop the East Sea, but these elders were all smart and none of them were willing to go. Zhang Yu cupped his hands and said, "Prime Minister, most of our elders want to join the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. What's the structure of the Chamber of Commerce?" Wang Mingkong cupped his hands and said, "I'm the vice president of the headquarters, so I can answer Daoyou's doubts." The previous structure of the Chamber of Commerce was relatively simple, which was that there were a few elders in the headquarters who were in charge of various affairs. The vice president of each level 1 branch was directly managed by the vice president of the headquarters, while the level 2 branch was managed by the level 1 branch. Now that Daoyu has joined, it naturally had to be adjusted. The imperial edict had already said that there would be a finance hall, a refining hall, and other institutions in the future. Every hall had a hall master and vice hall masters. The vice presidents of the level 1 branch had the same status as the vice hall masters of the various halls. The vice presidents of the important halls would be the hall masters. In addition, the members of the Chamber of Commerce would be treated with positions and titles. The titles were divided according to cultivation level. There were level 1 elder, level 2 elder, and manager. Zifu realm cultivators were managers, Golden Core cultivators were level 2 elders, and Yuanian cultivators were level 1 elders. In addition, those with special abilities or special contributions would be given the title of elder if their cultivation level was lower. Different titles meant different treatment. The positions included the president, vice president, grand elder, second elder, and other members of the elder group who handled daily affairs. The hall masters and vice hall masters of the various halls, as well as the presidents and vice presidents of the various branches. There were also managers who were in charge of the various businesses under the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce, as well as shopkeepers of the various shops. They would be treated differently according to their positions. If they didn't have a position and only had a title, they would be an elder with no duties. They could have a title, but not a position. Even if Elder Chao didn't want to take a position in the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce would still retain the title. I've been involved in the preparation and reform of the Chamber of Commerce. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. With a title, even if they didn't manage anything, they would still have some income. This made many elders with no duties feel relieved. With their abilities and status, it was impossible for them to hold an important position in the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. A golden core cultivator was an elder with a high status in Blood Shadow. Even he couldn't bring himself to snatch jobs from those low-level cultivators. At this moment, Elder Wu Cheng asked, "Vice President, how much is a level 2 elder's monthly salary?" This question was also on the minds of most elders with no duties. Even the elders with real power wanted to know the answer to this question. Wang Mingkong replied, "A manager gets 3,000 spirit stones a month, a level 2 elder gets 10,000 spirit stones a month, and a level 1 elder gets 50,000 spirit stones a month." As soon as this was said, the elders with no duties were somewhat disappointed. If they only relied on their titles to make a living, their income would be much lower than in Blood Shadow's headquarters. At this moment, the finance hall master, Zhang Mengguang, asked, "How much is the position and salary?" He was originally from the Zhang family. When he overthrew Zhang Dingyi, he had broken ties with the Zhang family, so his income wasn't very good. The vice president and first elder get 150,000 spirit stones a month. The second elder, third elder, and the hall masters get 120,000 spirit stones a month. The other elders, deputy hall masters, and the level 1 branch presidents get 100,000 spirit stones. The level 1 vice president gets 80,000 spirit stones. The level 2 branch presidents get 30,000 spirit stones, and the vice president gets 20,000 spirit stones. As for the income of managers at all levels, it is related to the industries under their jurisdiction. If they are in a riskier place, their income may exceed that of a level 2 branch president. For example, a level 4 alchemist or blacksmith's position and salary are not inferior to that of a level 1 branch president and a deputy hall master. The Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce relied on a large number of flying boats to communicate with all parts of Beiyuan Xiuxian. The income from transporting the specialties of various places to other places was extremely high. In addition to the various industries, the annual income was in the tens of billions. They didn't care about this small amount of money. Chapter 1051. Hearing Wang Mingkong's words, the group of elders with real power immediately became excited. The treatment of this position was much better than the treatment of a title. As long as they had a job, they wouldn't starve to death. Wang Mingkong continued, "Dao Yu, don't worry. There are special contributions in the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce. For example, if you find a high-value fei or find out important information, you will be rewarded with contribution points. These contribution points can be exchanged for fei items at the headquarters. There are foundation establishment pills, yin-yang purple jades, and gold formation pills, but there will be a limit to the number. There is no limit to the exchange of magic artifacts below level 5, but there is a limit to the exchange of level 5 magic artifacts. Also, magic artifacts below level 5 can be directly purchased with spirit stones." At this moment, everyone's hearts burned with passion. Even in the Blood Shadow headquarters, there were many things that were restricted. For example, level 4 magic artifacts couldn't be exchanged at Blood Shadow's headquarters. There was a huge limit to the exchange of yin-yang purple jades, and there were very few gold formation pills. Seeing that no one asked any more questions, Wang Shi smiled and said, "Our kingdom of Yen has never mistreated our meritorious officials. If you make contributions in the future, you will receive titles and fiefs." This time, after the demons were defeated, the Shanbei territory doubled in size. Even in the Arctic ice plains, the demons don't dare to show their faces. I heard that Blood Shadow has a huge man-made mystic realm. I have always wanted to see it. I wonder if First Elder and Second Elder can take me there to broaden my horizons? They naturally wouldn't refuse such a small matter. Zhang Yu smiled and said, "Prime Minister, please follow me." Wang Shui ordered the accompanying Wang family disciples, "You guys take over the affairs of the various halls." Then, he followed Zhang Yu and Chao Jing out of the meeting hall and into the mystic realm. The elders with real power began to hand over the affairs of the various halls to the Wang family disciples. Wang Shui and the others came to a huge light screen and walked in to take a look. In front of them was a plain with a radius of nearly 2,000 miles. This was also the basic feature of a man-made mystic realm. There were no rolling mountains, and all the land could be used to open up spirit fields. In the sky at the edge of the mystic realm, there were 2 spheres with a diameter of more than a foot hanging. They were the pure yang pearl and the moon pearl. The pure yin and pure yang qi sprinkled down, nourishing the large purple cloud forest below. There was a spirit vein in the mystic realm, and it was already level 5 inferior grade. Because the only place connected to the outside world was the entrance and exit and the spirit energy inside and outside, very little spirit chi. Therefore, the spirit chi in the entire mystic realm was very dense. With enough spirit chi, there were naturally many types of spirit plants. 1/3 of the spirit fields in the entire mystic realm were planted with level 4 spirit plants, while the rest were mostly level 3 spirit plants. There were very few level 2 spirit plants and no level 1 spirit plants. Many spirit bees were flying among the flowers, pollinating the flowers of these spirit plants. Wang Shui sighed emotionally. Blood Shadow is indeed worthy of having a foundation of tens of thousands of years. Their foundation is indeed extraordinary. Zhang Yu sighed. It's a pity that the Blood Shadow secret realm won't last long. When the ancestral master first built this mystic realm, the spirit vein inside was a 6th grade upper grade spirit vein. Later on, the spiritual energy in the whole of Beiyuan Xiuxian gradually declined, and this secret realm could no longer stand on its own. The original balance in the secret realm had been broken, and there was a risk of it collapsing at any time. For tens of thousands of years, we could only keep throwing in dark space stones to barely maintain the stability of the mystic realm. Fortunately, there was a Kongming mountain in the southeast. In the mountain, there was the largest Kongming stone mine in Beiyuan Xiuxian. Every month, large amounts of Kongming stone were transported from there. Otherwise, the mystic realm would have collapsed long ago. After the Chamber of Commerce took over this place, they also had to throw in dark space stones periodically to maintain the stability of the mystic realm. Also, they had to send golden core experts to guard the Kongming mountain. After all, this is the southern wasteland, and there are many desperados. Wang Shui nodded. It's not like there's no solution. My Wang family also has a man-made mystic realm. It was created by Supreme God Greenwood of the Valley of Beasts. He used a special spirit plant as the core of the mystic realm to maintain its stability. In the future, we can let Dao Yuan try to cultivate another spirit plant to stabilize the mystic realm. That's good too. Although the value of this mystic realm is extremely high, the value of dark space stones isn't low either. After so many years, the value of the dark space stones thrown in has probably surpassed the value of this mystic realm. However, this mystic realm has long become the lifeline of Blood Shadow. We don't dare to give it up, and can only barely maintain it like this. The disciples who manage the mystic realm are under the management of the Spirit Plant Hall. Now that it's handed over to the Chamber of Commerce, we don't have to worry about it. If we can really use spirit plants to stabilize the mystic realm, we can also save a lot of expenses. Wang Daoyuan was currently in the Zhou family's small courtyard. The 12th uncle had come to take over Blood Shadow's headquarters. The annexation of Blood Shadow was already a foregone conclusion. Blood Shadow is gone. I can't call you Lord Shadowmaster anymore. Zhou Luan glanced at him. Even if I'm no longer the Shadowmaster, do you still dare to rebel? How can I? Aren't you still the Princess of Zhou? I'll call you Lord Princess in the future. The dust at Blood Shadow's headquarters has also settled. I should also make a trip to Decimating Heaven Abyss. How about I also go take a look? You've taken Sword Immortal Guiyuan as your master, so I should also go pay my respects to master. Wang Daoyuan nodded. That's fine. Let's stay at Blood Shadow's headquarters for a few days first. We'll leave after the handover is complete. Both sides were in the middle of a handover, and it was inevitable that people would come to ask for instructions on various matters. It was also not suitable for dual cultivation. Wang Daoyuan could only take out a beast skin book and study the restrictions of artifacts. Half a month later, the ink dragon in the Spirit Pearl space let out a dragon roar. His entire body's aura was extremely unstable, and then his spiritual power began to skyrocket. After a few hours, the ink dragon's cultivation reached the 4th level low grade. This was a successful breakthrough. It was just that the Spirit Pearl space interfered with the heavenly tribulation, so no heavenly tribulation descended after the breakthrough. The true dragon bloodline in the ink dragon's body was extremely pure, and the divine beast bloodline could trigger a bloodline heavenly tribulation, increasing the concentration of the bloodline. If he was not allowed to undergo the tribulation, it would instead be a huge loss. The deep sea ink dragon's ability to control water was extremely strong. It was better to let him undergo the tribulation in the sea. The ink dragon has already broken through the 4th level. After going to Decimating Heaven Abyss, I'll go to the East Sea to let him undergo the tribulation. Right at this moment, Wang Shui came to the door of the small courtyard. Wang Daoyuan welcomed him in. 12th uncle, how's the handover? It's all done. The clansmen I brought are all extremely capable and experienced. The palace masters and elders on Blood Shadow's side were also very cooperative. If it wasn't for Blood Shadow's overly complicated system, it should have been completed long ago. Right, the space over at Blood Shadow's secret realm is unstable and requires a large amount of dark space stone to maintain. However, the value of dark space stone is very high. If we continue to invest like this, the price will be too high. The value of the spirit plants in Blood Shadow's secret realm is also not low. If we don't invest, the price will be even higher. I think Green Willow's secret realm can be stabilized with Hollow Willow. Can this secret realm be stabilized? If possible, break off a branch from that Hollow Willow. After growing it, plant it in the secret realm. Wang Daoyuan nodded. The value of dark space stone is extremely high. It can completely replace the profound origin gourd to refine spatial artifacts that can grow spirit plants. If we continue to use it to maintain the secret realm, the price will be too high. I'll go take a look at the secret realm. If we can use Hollow Willow to maintain it, it'll naturally be excellent. You guys do what you need to do. I'll go take a look. Wang Shui left the small courtyard, preparing to leave this place with the majority of Blood Shadow's elders. After the handover, Blood Shadow's headquarters became Jade Wave Seas Branch. Wang Daojian became the Jade Wave Seas Branch president as the vice president of the headquarters. Naturally, there was no need for too many Golden Core cultivators to stay in a branch. Most of the Golden Core elders would leave with Wang Shui and work at the Thousand Rivers Chamber of Commerce's headquarters in Clear Glass City. The Jade Wave Seas branch still had many businesses that needed people to take care of. However, this place had been Blood Shadow's headquarters for tens of thousands of years. There were many mortals and unnecessary low-level cultivators left behind. These people would also be slowly moved out in the future. After all, there was still a large amount of empty land waiting for them to fill in the sky/mountain range and the northern part of the mountain. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan headed to Blood Shadow's secret realm together to check on the situation there. It was not that Wang Daoyuan had never been to this place. Previously, when he lived in Blood Shadow's headquarters for many years, he had come here many times when he had nothing to do. However, his cultivation was low back then, so he could not see anything special. Now that his cultivation was higher, the things he saw were naturally different. Wang Daoyuan used the heaven-peering secret technique to check the stone walls at the edge of the secret realm. There was the power of laws on these stone walls. However, this power of laws was not stable and was slowly decreasing. The Valley of Beasts Divine Venerable Green would like to create secret realms. Wang Daoyuan had also seen his records of creating secret realms. This method was to use the power of the Space Dao to forcefully create a secret realm. Then, array formations and other methods would be used to stabilize this secret realm. The most troublesome thing was the secret realm's core. The main difficulty of this thing was not the core itself, but the spiritual pivot that connected the inside and outside of the secret realm. Just like the five-element secret realm, it was a natural secret realm. The spiritual pivot that connected the inside and outside was naturally there. A golden core cultivator could change the secret realm's core. As for the Green Willow Continent's secret realm, it used the Hollow Willow's natural space Dao to replace the spiritual pivot. To create a spiritual pivot out of thin air, one would need to be at least an almighty cultivation and proficient in the space Dao. The process was extremely complicated. Even Divine Venerable Greenwood was not willing to do this. Wang Daoyuan's domain divine power was originally a prototype of space. When one reached the almighty realm, the space Dao of spiritual objects would not be a problem. However, one's cultivation was still far from it. It was impossible for a soul formation cultivator to create this hub. It was obvious that the Blood Shadow ancestor, who created this secret realm, also did not have this ability. If he could not create the hub, this secret realm would not be complete. It could only rely on the power of the outside world to barely maintain it. Wang Daoyuan's space Dao could be used to refine spatial spirit artifacts. However, if he wanted to stabilize this secret realm, it would be wishful thinking. Fortunately, there was still a stage 2 Hollow Willow in the Spirit Pearl space. This Hollow Willow was cultivated from the branches of the Big Willow tree in the Green Willow continent before he left Beiyuan Xiuxian for the first time. It had absorbed many gifts from heaven and earth and was nourished by the life spirit fire. After so many years, it was only a stage 2 low-grade tree. Its trunk was only as thick as an adult's thigh. This willow tree had also reproduced once, but it left behind very few seeds. Such a large willow tree had only produced a dozen seeds. Wang Daoyuan planted these seeds in the spirit pearl space. Now, only 3 seedlings had grown. However, the 3 seedlings had a good foundation. They were only 1 foot tall and had already entered the rank. He took out one of them and planted it in the blood shadow secret realm. It would be best if it could succeed. If it did not, he would only lose a small sapling. He flew above the secret realm and sensed the spirit chi fluctuations in the entire secret realm. Then, he landed near the center of the secret realm. In the entire blood shadow secret realm, this place had the strongest spirit chi fluctuations. Coincidentally, this place was on top of a spirit vein. Wang Daoyuan pointed his sword downwards. A large pit more than 10 feet deep appeared on the ground. The crystal-like spirit vein was exposed in the pit. He took out a jade green pearl from the spirit pearl's space. This pearl was called the jade fire pearl. It was made by imitating the pure yang pearl and the moonlight pearl. In the innermost part of the pearl was a small meteorite. There was a jade green flame burning on the meteorite. It was the rootless flame of the life spirit fire. Wang Daoyuan placed the pearl into the pit and placed it close to the spirit vein. Then, he filled the pit and asked his clone to transplant a hollow willow seedling out of the spirit pearl space. This seedling was dug out along with its roots and soil. Then, he transplanted it right above the jade fire pearl. Chapter 1052. This hollow willow sapling was transplanted along with the soil, and not even a small root was broken. After transplanting, there was no such thing as survival. Although the concentration of spirit chi in the secret realm was far less than in the space of the spirit bead, the environment was not bad. The big willow tree in the green willow state grew on a rank 3 spirit vein all year round, and its branches and leaves were luxuriant. This small sapling grew on a rank 5 spirit vein, and there was a jade fire bead constantly producing life force below, so it was not a problem for the sapling to grow slowly. There was a spirit root and a life spirit fire below, so the sapling's roots would go all out. When he swallowed the jade fire bead and wrapped the roots around the spirit vein, his growth should be much faster. Wang Daoyuan was not in a hurry to leave, but carefully observed the secret realm. He wanted to see how much this hollow willow sapling could stabilize the space. 2 days later, the sapling adapted to the new environment and began to release traces of the power of the law of space. As soon as this power appeared, it immediately drilled into the soil and disappeared. Wang Daoyuan immediately spread out his divine sense to observe the changes in the surroundings. Sure enough, the loss of the law of space in the secret realm slowed down a little, about a tenth. Although it was not much, the sapling was still small and had just adapted to the environment. The sapling would slowly grow, and the power of the law of space it released would become stronger and stronger. Even now, it could reduce the loss of the law of space by a tenth, and the consumption of space stones could be reduced by a tenth. In the long run, the value was very considerable. When his cultivation base was promoted to the Mahayana realm, he could quickly cultivate to the Almighty realm by using his spirit power to transform his divine sense. With his domain ability, mastering the path of space would not be a problem. When the time came, he would create a spirit pivot for the secret realm, and he would not have to worry about the loss of the power of space. After confirming that the hollow willow sapling was useful, there was no need to continue to stay here. He sent someone to call Wang Daojian and told him some things. Not long after, Wang Daojian came to the secret realm. "Seventh brother, what are you looking for me for?" Wang Daoyuan pointed to the sapling and asked, "Does it look familiar?" Wang Dao thought briefly. The aura of this little willow sapling is somewhat familiar. It seems to be similar to the big willow tree in the green willow region. Wang Daoyuan nodded. The big willow tree in the green willow region is a divine tree called the hollow willow. It would contain the power of space and could be used to maintain a secret realm. The green willow secret realm was maintained by the big willow tree. However, it was not easy for the hollow willow to grow. The big willow tree in the green willow state had lived for many years, but it was only a rank 1 spiritual wood. I nurtured this sapling and planted it in the blood shadow secret realm. It can slow down the loss of spatial energy. Now, he could reduce the rate of loss by about 10%. In the future, if he wanted to maintain the secret realm, The amount of space underworld stones consumed would also be reduced by 10%. As the sapling grows, its ability to slow down the loss of spatial energy will also become stronger and stronger, and the consumption of dark space stones will also decrease. That's not bad. It can reduce the consumption of dark space stones and save a lot of resources. You have to arrange for reliable people to manage this sapling. Don't be careless. With that said, he took out a 3-inch long silver sword. This is a rank 5 superior grade sword talisman that I made. After activating it, it can release the Big Dipper sword array. It won't be a problem to kill great Fey kings. Although there are treasures left behind by the Blood Shadow Patriarch, it can only be used for defense and not offense. It can only ensure that enemies can't attack, but it can't kill them. If you are surrounded by rank 5 demonic beasts, you won't be able to do anything. With this sword talisman, you can kill anyone who dares to court death. It just so happens that you cultivate the Beiyuan sword intent. Once the sword intent and spiritual power are used up, you can replenish it. You can also use it when comprehending sword intent. Wang Daojian took the sword talisman. 7th brother, don't worry. Although my cultivation isn't high, with the Beiyuan sword intent, there aren't many below the Yuanying realm who can fight me. The fiendish cultivators and half-Fey in the southern wilderness have a hard time breaking through the Yuanying realm. I can intimidate them with my own abilities. Now that I have this sword talisman, I can guarantee that the Jade Wave Sea branch will be absolutely safe. Wang Daoyuan took out a jade slip. This is the secret manual of the Tiangang sword formation. The Tiangang sword formation can be used for both offense and defense. I created it with the Sword Shadow Divine Light technique and Sky Sealing Sword Prison as the foundation. You can cultivate it for a bit. When you need to use the sword talisman in the future, you can also control it a bit. Then many thanks, 7th brother. We're brothers, no need to be so polite. Your 7th sister-in-law and I are going to travel the southern wilderness. I'll leave this place to you. The most important thing for the Jade Wave Sea branch is stability. There are still a lot of resources here, so there's no need to rush to expand. First, open a few shops in the north side of the Jade Wave Sea and purchase some valuable spiritual items. After the cultivators sent by the headquarters replace the main manpower here, it won't be too late to expand into the depths of the southern wilderness. After saying a few more words to Wang Daojian, Wang Daoyuan took Zhou Wan and left the Jade Wave Sea branch. Riding on Lei Peng's flying boat, they headed due south. Along the way, they didn't encounter any trouble. After a few hours, they arrived at the north shore of Decimating Heaven Abyss. Sensing the violent spiritual energy, Zhou Wan frowned slightly. With this formation isolating us, I can still feel the danger inside. Wang Daoyuan had an indifferent expression. Don't worry, princess, I've often come to this place. Master is overseeing this Decimating Heaven Abyss. Other than people who possess the Returning to Origin sword intent, all living beings whose cultivation has reached the deity transformation stage will be attacked by Master when they enter Decimating Heaven Abyss. You'd better stay inside the spiritual pearl space first, so as to avoid being accidentally injured. When we arrive in front of Master, I'll let you out. Zhou Wan nodded, and Wang Daoyuan stored her into the spiritual pearl space. Piloting Lei Peng's flying boat into Decimating Heaven Abyss, he could still encounter demons the previous 2 times. Right now, it was rather peaceful, without even a shadow. He arrived at the location of the Returning to Origin Sword Immortal's tomb without any obstructions. Arriving in front of the tomb, the Returning to Origin sword flashed repeatedly, and the figure of a white-robed man appeared. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly bowed. Disciple Wang Daoyuan greets Master. Sword Immortal Guiyuan nodded in satisfaction. Not bad, you've broken through to the deity transformation stage. Last time you wanted to catch a spirit demon. I wonder how the result was? Thanks to Master's guidance, I encountered 2 spirit demons at the edge of the extreme frost ice plains. I killed a peak rank 5 spirit demon and captured a rank 4 spirit demon alive. Through the deduction of the rank 4 spirit demon, they should be the descendants of ghost immortals, and their cultivation method inheritance is very similar to that of ghost cultivators. After that, I went to the Heavenly Mystery Tower and asked those divine venerable seniors for help. I've already integrated the method of transforming spiritual power into divine sense into my Dao-seeking cultivation method. With that, Wang Daoyuan also displayed the secret technique of transforming spiritual power into divine sense. As the #1 expert of the human race back then, Sword Immortal Guiyuan naturally had a lot of experience. He could tell at a glance that this secret technique was extraordinary. He nodded repeatedly. It's indeed extraordinary. With this method, the cultivation speed of the deity transformation stage can be much faster than that of ordinary cultivators. At the Mahayana stage, it's even easier to produce immortal power. In the future, it shouldn't be difficult for you to suppress those children of providence in the center of the Qianyuan continent. Since that spirit demon is a descendant of ghost immortals, it can be considered a branch of the human race. You can't kill it excessively. Wang Daoyun smiled and said, "Don't worry, master. I will try to subdue the spirit demon clan in the future and won't kill them casually. My Dao companion has also broken through to the deity transformation stage and wants to visit you together. However, the rule of the absolute heaven abyss is that disciples who have reached rank 6 and don't have Guiyuan sword intent will be attacked by you. I don't know if you can control yourself and not attack my Dao companion." Don't worry, disciple. When creatures who have reached rank 6 enter the absolute heaven abyss, they will only activate the array formation and provide me with a large amount of spiritual power. In the end, whether I attack or not, only I have the final say. Even the heavenly Dao can't interfere. If not, wouldn't I become a puppet? I, Sword Immortal Guiyuan, once suppressed the Qianyuan world for an era. How can I be manipulated by others? Then I'm relieved. After saying that, he released Zhou Wan from the Spirit Pearl's space. Princess, this is Sword Immortal Guiyuan, my master. Zhou Wan hurriedly bowed. Greetings, master. Sword Immortal Guiyuan nodded in satisfaction. Disciple, you are so lucky to have married such a beautiful and talented Dao companion. I see that you have the Phoenix bloodline and seem to have awakened a type of spiritual fire. I only have a grave and a sword left, and I don't have anything to give you. However, I do know a lot of secret techniques, spells and the like. Dao Yuan, give me a jade slip. I'll record a fire-controlling secret technique. Wang Dao Yuan took out a blank jade slip and handed it to Sword Immortal Guiyuan. Sword Immortal Guiyuan injected his divine sense into it. After a few breaths, he handed the jade slip to Zhou Wan. The fire-controlling technique recorded here is called the Nanming Fire Accumulation Technique. It was created by an earth immortal hundreds of thousands of years ago. Other than controlling the spiritual fire, it also has the effect of nurturing the spiritual fire and accelerating its growth. It was originally used to control the Nanmingli fire. You have the Phoenix bloodline and the fire also belongs to the Phoenix race. It is very similar to the Nanmingli fire and should have a very good effect. Zhou Wan hurriedly took the jade slip. Thank you, master, for your generous gift. This Dharma spell is most suitable for Mingchen. Who is Mingchen? Master, Mingchen is our eldest son. His divine power is the Nanmingli fire. Even though Sword Immortal Guiyuan was experienced and knowledgeable, he was still stunned. The two of you are very lucky to have such a genius descendant. In the entire Qianyuan realm, there are not many cultivators with the vermilion bird avatar, but there are also quite a few. However, less than 1 in a million can awaken the Nanmingli fire divine power. The Nanmingli fire can burn anything. With this fire, not only will his cultivation speed be fast, his strength will also be extremely powerful. In an era without the Son of Providence, such talent can be said to be the top genius. Unfortunately, I am a sword cultivator. Otherwise, I would definitely train him well. Our second son was born with a sword physique. His purple mansion avatar is a long sword with the pattern of a white tiger divine beast. He cultivated the Valley of Beasts' killing sword art. Sword Immortal Guiyuan nodded. That's right. I have seen the killing divine monarch. He is indeed a sword cultivator genius. If he did not die, he should be a sword immortal now. I have also taught him the killing sword art. It is not inferior to the inheritance of a powerful figure. If there is a chance in the future, I can teach this grand disciple. By the way, why did you come here? Just say it. As long as I can do it, I will definitely not refuse. Wang Dao Yuan said with a smile, I have captured 2 devils in this decimating heaven abyss and refined them into clones. Now that they have reached the stage of breaking through to the soul formation realm, if they break through outside, the heavenly tribulation will probably be very terrifying. I would like to ask Master, can the devils break through to the soul formation realm in this decimating heaven abyss? Don't worry. As long as I don't make a move, there is nothing in this decimating heaven abyss that can disturb them. Even if those guys on the south bank of the decimating heaven abyss find something wrong, They will not dare to come in and court death. Let them go through the tribulation here at ease. Maybe they can even attract a few experts from the demon race. Bullying these little guys all day is really boring. Now, Wang Daoyuan was relieved. He took out his clone Xueqi and Mou from the spiritual pearl space. Sword Immortal Guan looked at these two devils and said with a smile, "Not bad. Let them go through the tribulation 10,000 miles away, so as not to affect the formation. Also, it is best if they do it at the same time. The power of the heavenly Tao here is extremely weak. If they do it at the same time, the heavenly tribulation will be even weaker." Chapter 1053. Wang Daoyuan had always underestimated Sword Immortal Guiyuan's autonomy. He used to think that he was completely controlled by the array formation. From the looks of it, he still had a lot of autonomy. Whether he attacked or not depended on his mood. "Master, I'll help the two demon clones transcend the tribulation first." Sword Immortal Guiyuan nodded. "Go. If the demons transcend the tribulation here, they will definitely attract the attention of the demons outside the Qianyuan realm. When the time comes, there might be demon experts coming to investigate. If a demon expert appears, you can use the Guiyuan sword intent. I'll use the sword intent resonance to help you. Cultivators below the Mahayana realm won't be a problem. Even if it was the early Dashang stage demon, he could have the power to fight. You have to be prepared. If a Mahayana demon attacks, you won't even have time to escape." "Master, don't worry. I still have ways to escape." With that said, he took out the flying boat and flew east with Zhou and the two demon clones. After flying for 20,000 kilometers, he placed the blood spring on a small mountain with a spirit vein. Then, he flew east for another 5,000 kilometers and placed the demon prison in a place with a spirit vein. The two demon clones were meditating, making the final preparations for the breakthrough. The cultivation system of the demons was similar to that of the human race in the early stages. However, at the Yuanying realm, the laws that the two sides could grasp were different. The difference was obvious. At the Mahayana realm, it involved the power of the heavenly Tao. The heavenly Tao was the will of a world. There was a huge difference between different worlds. The difference between the cultivation system of the Mahayana realm and the demons was even greater. For example, the clone soul nurturing technique was completely ineffective against human Yuanying cultivators. However, it could still be used against Yuanying demons. However, at the soul formation realm, the clone soul nurturing technique could not even deal with the demons. The two clones had been in the spiritual pearl space for some years. Their foundation was extremely solid. Not long after they meditated, they felt a wave of power descend. Wang Daoyuan sensed the clones in a panoramic manner. This power was completely different from the heavenly might of the human and demon tribulations. The heavenly might of the human race's heavenly tribulation was the power of the righteous path. It made people want to worship it. At this time, his power was eerie and terrifying, as if he was facing a demon whose strength far exceeded his own. It made people tremble in fear. Previously, during the chaos in the heavenly Devil Valley, the Devil Clan had sacrificed a large group of golden core devils to summon the heavenly Devil Phantom. The power that Wang Daoyuan felt through the two demon clones was very similar to the power of the heavenly demon phantom. "Princess, you should enter the spirit orb space. In a place like this, you're constantly consuming your spiritual energy. If a demon expert really intervenes, you won't be able to help. If a grand ascension stage devilish being were to attack, then his master would definitely be forced into action. He could sense my sword intent and deliberately avoided me. But at such a distance, he won't be able to accurately avoid you. You'll be in danger then." Zhou nodded slightly. "Okay, I'll stay in the space for a while." Although Zhou was sometimes rude and unreasonable and did not allow him to flirt with other women, she was still able to distinguish between the important and urgent matters. Most of the time, she was able to help. When she couldn't help, she would definitely not be a hindrance. Wang Daoyuan put her into the spirit orb space, found a lake, and used means to hide. At the same time, he sensed the two clones in a panoramic manner, wanting to see what the Devil Clan's tribulation was like. In this absolute heaven abyss, there was black gas everywhere. Even the 9 heavens astral wind was cut off by this black gas, not to mention the tribulation cloud. Before the tribulation cloud formed, it was blown away by the black gas. Moreover, he had never heard of the Devil Clan having a heart demon. It was also impossible for them to transcend the heart demon tribulation. Soon, above the two demon clones, a huge demon phantom appeared respectively. The demon phantom that appeared above the blood spring was a huge blood devil phantom. There was nothing strange about it. Instead, the demon phantom that appeared above the devil prison was a little strange. It looked roughly like a myriad law devil, but also a little like a soul devil and a blood devil. Just as Wang Daoyuan was somewhat puzzled, Guiyuan's Sword Immortal's voice sounded in his ears. Disciple, this clone of yours is pretty good. This heavenly tribulation devil phantom is precisely Mo Jun, who was killed by my sneak attack back then. It seems that what this demon clone of yours said is true. He really is Mo Jun's descendant. Wang Daoyuan whispered to himself, Master can actually see the situation here? Are you confused? They broke through to the Soul Formation realm. This movement is even greater than the Soul Formation Devil Clan. The formation has already been awakened. If I can't even observe the situation here, how can I kill the Devil Clan? It's just that this kid is a little strange. He actually summoned the Ancestors' Law Phantom. The Devil Clan's heavenly tribulation is similar to the Demon Clan's bloodline heavenly tribulation. After transcending the tribulation, it will make one's bloodline purer. If he continues to cultivate, he really might be able to reproduce Mo Jun's ability. Wang Daoyuan nodded and did not speak anymore. He focused on sensing the situation of the two clones transcending the tribulation. He did not control the clones to fight. Fighting with his ancestors' law phantom was very beneficial to them. If he controlled them to fight, the comprehension would be much worse. At this moment, the two clones had already engaged in a battle with the law phantom. There was nothing to see on the blood demon's side. He mainly focused on fighting with his physical body. Of course, the blood demon also had the ability to control his opponent's blood. However, the law phantom did not have a physical body. Xueqi could not control his blood and could only defend passively. The devil prison side was more flashy. He and ancestor Mo Jun both had the bloodline of the myriad arts devil. All kinds of devil clan spells flew everywhere, mixed with some methods of the blood demon and the soul-devouring devil. These two guys' foundation was too solid. They fought with the law phantom for 15 minutes before they were at a disadvantage. Then, the devil prison and Xueqi were completely beaten up. However, with their solid foundation, they could still hold on for the time being. Wang Daoyuan heard Sword Immortal Guiyuan's voice again. You're really generous to nurture these two demon clones. Their foundation is too solid. I've never seen anyone who could fight the heavenly tribulation head-on and hold on for 15 minutes. With these resources, it's good to nurture a few more clansmen. Wang Daoyuan could not explain this. He really did not invest many resources in these two demons. When he hunted demonic beasts, he could let Xueqi clean up their blood essence. He could also get some benefits. As for the devil prison, he did not get any benefits at all. He even had to refine pills all day. Their current strength was entirely due to the accumulation of time. He could only reply in a low voice. In the Qixing Si Xiuxian community, I found some spiritual items suitable for the devil clan. Human cultivators have no use for them, so I gave them to them. Sword Immortal Guiyuan did not speak again. Wang Daoyuan also carefully sensed the battle between the two clones. Sooner or later, he would have to fight with the devil clan. If he understood more now, it would be much easier to deal with the devil clan in the future. Xueqi and the devil prison could only fight to the death. They did not have the strength to fight back. An hour passed quickly. The law phantom began to shrink and finally turned into a water ball. This water ball was pitch black and was the size of a fist. The energy it contained made Wang Daoyuan tremble in fear. Soon, the water ball fused into their bodies. The two clones began to circulate their cultivation techniques to refine the water ball. Wang Daoyuan did not dare to keep them in the spiritual pearl space. Although the black water ball had a lot of energy, it was related to the devil clan. It was not suitable for the living beings of the Qianyuan world. This thing was even more powerful than the violent spiritual energy in the southern wasteland. Once it dissipated in the spiritual pearl space, many of the spiritual plants would be destroyed. In the depths of the absolute heaven abyss, there was a fine crack. Outside the crack was the endless void. From the outside, this crack was just a black crack in the void. It was impossible to tell that there was a world here. The chaotic energy in the void constantly surged in from the crack. After entering the crack, it turned into black qi. It was not that there was nothing outside the crack. There were small black islands floating nearby. At this moment, in a hall on one of the islands, more than 10 Devil Clan members with unfathomable cultivation levels were gathered. Among them, a tall Devil Clan member with a blood-red body said, "I can sense that there is a junior of my Blood Devil lineage in the absolute heaven abyss. He has already succeeded." The Devil Clan members discussed among themselves. Then, they looked at the Devil Clan member sitting at the head of the table. This Devil Clan member was an extremely handsome man. His appearance was no different from a human's. He wore a black fish scale armor and a black jade crown on his head. He chuckled. Interesting. Mo June's descendant attracted the demigod tribulation, and even attracted Mo June's law phantom. Hearing this, the Devil Clan members were abnormally excited. The Blood Devil was stunned. Then, he revealed a look of ecstasy. "Great Commander, is it because that old man Beiyuan can't take it anymore? He actually allowed a junior of the Sacred Clan to succeed?" A skinny Devil Clan member scolded, "Idiot. That old man was still wantonly slaughtering the Sacred Clan members in the absolute heaven abyss. If he can't take it anymore, he wouldn't be so weak now. Maybe he's playing dumb to lure us over and kill 2 Mahayana Sacred Clan members while he's at it." The Blood Devil was not to be outdone. "You are not from more than 70,000 years ago. What do you know? My Blood Devil lineage's descendant doesn't matter. Mo June's descendant is the key. Mo June can use spiritual energy to transform into chi, blood, and consciousness. When fighting, the power of his consciousness will almost never be exhausted. His cultivation speed is also extremely fast. Back then, when he was fighting with the human clan, he defeated 5 human almighties by himself. Even if those almighties aren't very strong, do you have the ability to do so? If he can take another step and become a demigod, only that old man, Beiyuan, can defeat him in the Qian Yuan realm." The human clan also attached great importance to this matter. Beiyuan personally led a group of human almighties to attack Mo June. The Sacred Clan was caught off guard. Mo June's death in battle was the greatest loss to the Sacred Clan. Now that a Sacred Clan member is undergoing a tribulation and attracted Mo June's law phantom, this person must be Mo June's descendant. Moreover, it's very likely that he inherited Mo June's ability to transform spiritual energy into chi, blood, and consciousness. You're just a kid who's not even 50,000 years old. Do you know what this means? The great commander sitting high above nodded. If this person really inherits Mo June's ability, after breaking through to the demigod realm, his strength will be second only to Sword Immortal Beiyuan. The current almighties and earth immortals of the human clan are no match for him. Back then, the Sacred Clan was defeated because there were too few low-level Sacred Clan members. They could not defeat the human clan and the Fey clan in terms of attrition. Another reason was that they did not have a top expert like Sword Immortal Beiyuan. Back then, Sword Immortal Beiyuan was the Sacred Clan's nightmare. More than 20 Sacred Clan almighties died at his hands. There were even 7 demigods. Even if 4 or 5 demigods attacked him together, it was difficult to kill him. If Mo June could cultivate to the demigod realm back then, he might not be able to kill Sword Immortal Beiyuan, but he could at least hold him back. Together with other demigods, they might even have a chance of killing him. Now that Sword Immortal Beiyuan is dead, his remaining soul is much weaker than before. If there's really an existence with strength comparable to Mo June that breaks through to the demigod realm, we can easily breach the decimating heaven abyss and attack the Qian Yuan realm again. Therefore, we cannot sit back and do nothing. The skinny demon asked, "Then what should we do? Should we send an army to attack the decimating heaven abyss?" The great commander shook his head. "We can't do that. If we really send an army to attack the decimating Sword Immortal Beiyuan's soul, the Sacred Clan will also suffer heavy casualties. There are many almighties and earth immortals in the Qian Yuan realm. They can easily wipe us out. Let's send a few demigods to scout the way. If it's a trap set by Sword Immortal Beiyuan, we can afford the loss. If Sword Immortal Beiyuan really can't hold on, let them bring back Mo June's descendant." Chapter 1054. All the demons nodded secretly. To the demons, a few semi-god realm warriors were nothing. Blood Demon patted his chest and said, "Leave this to us. There's another Blood Demon who broke through to the semi-god realm with us. How about we send out a dozen semi-god realm Blood Demons?" The short demon shook his head. Why didn't the descendant of Blood Demon and Mo Jun come here when he broke through to the semi-god realm? Why did he stay in Jutian Abyss? If old Guion really wants to fish, I'm afraid none of the semi-god realm blood demons you send out will come back. Blood Demon sneered. Han Ming, don't be an alarmist. It's not like we don't know about Sword Immortal Guiyuan's situation. His body died and his soul became a sword spirit, hiding in the 8th level Sword Immortal Guiyuan. He can't leave that stone pillar at all. Those juniors won't be stupid enough to die. How can they be controlled by him? The commander sighed secretly. Yin demons and Yang demons had been fighting for a long time. They often fought because of a disagreement. Especially Blood Demon and Soul Devouring Demon, they were born to be enemies. Whatever Blood Demon said, the Soul Devouring Demon clan would definitely oppose, and vice versa. In ancient times, there were many times when major events were delayed because of internal strife, causing the Sacred Clan to suffer heavy losses. If it weren't for the suppression of 10,000 Laws Demon, the two clans would be in a mess. He coughed lightly. Have you forgotten about Sword Immortal Guiyuan's second disciple? Tens of thousands of years have passed. He should be a mighty figure. I heard from those juniors that he would go to Sword Immortal Guiyuan's place every few years. Isn't it easy to capture a few juniors of the Sacred Clan? Blood Demon, 10,000 Laws Demon, and Soul Devouring Demon each sent out a useless semi-god realm junior. If it's really a trap, it's not a big deal. If it's not a trap, it's not a problem to take down 2 of the 3 semi-god realm demons who just passed the tribulation. At the very least, we can take down Mo Jun's descendant. Since the commander had spoken, the others didn't dare to say anything. They could only do as they were told. Soon, 3 soul formation intermediate stage demons were selected. They entered the crack and came to the depths of Jutian Abyss. At this moment, Devil Prison and Xueqi were still refining the gifts from the tribulation. Wang Daoyuan hid near the Devil Prison, waiting for the devils to take the bait. Sword Immortal Guiyuan's voice once again rang out in his ears. What a pity! This net only caught 3 small fish. 3 divine transformation realm devils came from the outer realm. One was a myriad laws devil, one was a blood devil, and one was a soul-devouring devil. They're not that strong though. They're all in the middle stage of the divine transformation realm. Wang Daoyuan whispered. Master, don't do anything. I'll let my 2 doppelgangers deal with them and see if we can catch a big fish. You can give it a try. You must have spent a lot of effort on these 2 demonic clones. They will be of great use in the future. Don't let them die here. Don't worry, Master. These 2 clones aren't ordinary at all. If there's really no other way, I'll just do it myself. If you don't do anything, they'll suspect that something is amiss, and perhaps a few Grand Ascension stage devilish beings will be drawn out. Since you're so confident, why don't you try fishing? Very soon, Wang Daoyuan sensed 3 powerful spirit energy undulations coming from the depths of absolute heaven abyss below. Not long after, 3 streaks of light appeared in his line of sight. These 3 streaks of light were blood red, pitch black, and silver respectively. Wang Daoyuan had dealt with devils quite a lot, so he could naturally recognize that these 3 streaks of light belonged to the blood devil, the soul-devouring devil, and the myriad laws devil. These 3 streaks of light headed straight for the devil prison. This was a little out of Wang Daoyuan's expectations. The devil prison and Xueqi had quite a number of devil Dao magic artifacts. Coupled with their deep foundation, it shouldn't be difficult for them to fight 2 against 3. However, the place where they were undergoing their tribulations was tens of thousands of miles away. With just the devil prison, it would be very difficult to stop 3 divine transformation realm devils. Perhaps before Xueqi arrived, the devil prison would be taken down. Wang Daoyuan could only bite the bullet and take action. When the 3 streaks of light arrived in front of him, Wang Daoyuan shot out 3 Gui water divine thunders. The 3 streaks of light didn't dare to take them head-on and hurriedly dodged. The Gui water divine thunders landed on a mountain top. 3 muffled sounds were heard. With a rumble, the mountain top turned into dozens of boulders and collapsed. The 3 streaks of light revealed themselves. One of them, a white-robed cultivator, walked forward. This human, Dao Yu, why are you behaving so atrociously in my sacred race's territory? I really haven't heard that this absolute heaven abyss is your devil race's territory. I'm afraid that in your eyes, the entire Chen Yuan world belongs to your devil race, right? My two puppets are consolidating their foundation. I don't have the time to listen to your idle chatter. Either scram now, or I'll kill the three of you vile creatures. The Blood Devil lineage had the most violent temper among the young devils. Now that he was being insulted by someone whose cultivation was inferior to his, how could he endure it? That Blood Devil turned into a streak of bloodlight and directly pounced over. Wang Daoyuan had a look of disdain. His body was wrapped in a layer of dragon scales. His hands turned into dragon claws. His right fist clenched into a fist and punched towards the bloodlight. With a rumble, the bloodlight flew out. A few cracking sounds came from beneath his feet. The rocks below him had cracks like a spider web. After all, the other party was a divine transformation realm blood devil. His physical strength was strong enough. His right hand was also trembling uncontrollably. That bloodlight crashed into a tall mountain. The entire mountain shook for a moment. The blood-red man, who was 10 feet tall, stuck to the mountain rock. When he flew down, a human-shaped pit was left on the mountain rock. The white-clothed cultivator's face turned cold. Dao Yu, good ability. The three of us can't take you down, but don't be too arrogant. Absolute Heaven Abyss is still the sacred race's territory after all. Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Wang Daoyuan's figure instantly disappeared. When he appeared again, he was already beside the Blood Devil. His right hand grabbed towards the Blood Devil's head. The Blood Devil turned into a streak of bloodlight, dodging this claw. Wang Daoyuan's left hand swung towards the bloodlight. The bloodlight was sent flying again. The last time was a head-on clash. He himself also suffered quite a bit of impact. This time, it was the Blood Devil's escape that was interrupted. Only the Blood Devil took a beating. That Blood Devil crashed into a small mountain. Wang Daoyuan disappeared again. Previously, the other two fiends did not react. This time, they naturally could not watch with folded arms. He had just fled near the Blood Devil when a pitch-black folding fan flew over from the right. At the same time, there was also a divine sense blade descending from the sky. Wang Daoyuan gave up on attacking and turned into a streak of silver light to dodge. But this folding fan and divine sense blade did not give up. He could only bring out the white tiger blade. With a swing of the silver sword, the folding fan was sent flying and the divine sense blade shattered. Seeing the sword in his hand, the white-clothed cultivator's expression changed greatly. You are the successor of Guiyuan's sword immortal? Wang Daoyuan smiled but did not speak. His whole body ignited with silver flames. These flames slowly converged towards the white tiger blade. The aura also became stronger and stronger. A sword cry like a tiger's roar sounded. Wang Daoyuan turned into a streak of silver light, slashing towards the white-clothed cultivator and the soul-devouring devil. As if facing a great enemy, the two fiends hurriedly used their divine abilities to dodge. A black barrier appeared on the white-clothed cultivator's body. The power inside was very strong. Wang Daoyuan did not have the confidence to break it. He turned to deal with the soul-devouring devil. This guy was also sneaky enough, using a divine ability to hide himself. Wang Daoyuan used his divine ability domain. Inside Absolute Heaven Abyss, the power of the heavenly Dao and Law was weak. The power of the divine ability was far inferior to outside. In addition, there was black qi everywhere. The spiritual qi was extremely thin. Wanting to use the domain to attack was not too realistic. But using the domain's power to search for the opponent was easy. The soul-devouring devil had nowhere to hide in the domain. A streak of silver light flashed. With a gotcha sound, where the silver light passed, a circular shield was split in half. Behind the shield, a thin human figure appeared. Tiny beads of blood seeped out from his neck and his head slowly slid down. A moment later, a fountain gushed out from the headless corpse. Wang Daoyuan swung his sword and nailed the head to the stone wall. The head struggled a few times before completely losing its life. Seeing him easily kill the soul-devouring devil, the white-clothed cultivator and blood devil were terrified. They did not dare to fight anymore and turned into a fleeing light, heading towards the depths of Absolute Heaven Abyss. Wang Daoyuan did not chase either. He only recalled the white tiger blade and brought the soul-devouring devil's head over. This sword pierced through his temple and pierced through his sea of consciousness. His primordial spirit was also pierced. His life was completely annihilated by the white tiger blade sword qi. The soul-devouring devil lineage is still so useless. It's not that the soul-devouring devil is useless. It's that your domain divine ability restrains this lineage. Their concealment methods are extremely difficult to deal with, but they are useless in front of you. Good disciple, having such combat strength when you just reached early-stage soul formation. You're much stronger than Master back then. With your strength you can totally make the three of them stay. Why don't you continue to chase? If I dare to chase, that means I have something to rely on. I'm not afraid of a stronger devil's sneak attack. Letting the two of them go back means that I'm not confident. The devil side can think that this might be a trap, but it could also be that something happened on Master's side. Plus, with a human genius like me as bait, there's still hope of catching a Mahayana devil. I've fought the devil race for many years. I have some understanding of their characteristics. The Yin devil lineage is cautious and won't be fooled easily. The Yang devil lineage will definitely want to make a move. As for whether the devil race will attack again, it'll depend on which side has the upper hand. Blood Demon and the white-robed cultivator escaped into the void outside the crack and hurried to the main hall where the upper echelons of the devil race were meeting. As soon as they entered the hall, a skinny demon asked, "Where's Devouring Wind?" He was killed by an early-stage soul formation human. That person has the sword intent of returning to origin and is extremely powerful. He broke Devouring Wind's shield and decapitated him with one strike. Devouring Wind's head tried to escape, but was nailed to the mountain rock by his sword. He lost his life right away. Xueqi fought him with physical strength and was defeated as well. If it weren't for me and Devouring Wind, he would have been the first to die. At this moment, Blood Demon couldn't stand it anymore and shouted, "Bullshit! How can an early-stage soul formation human defeat Xueqi with physical strength?" Xueqi panted a few times. "Ancestor, my physical body is indeed inferior to his. That person can cover his body with dragon scales and turn his hands into dragon claws. I used an escape technique to charge at him, but he punched me and knocked me back. Then, he chased after me again. I couldn't dodge completely with blood escape and was punched on the side of my waist. I couldn't even use half of my physical strength." Everyone in the hall sucked in a breath of cold air. Although the three demons sent were useless, they were all experienced mid-divine transformation stage warriors. Their opponent was only an early-stage soul formation human. 3 against 1, but they were still killed. Blood Demon smashed the table in front of him with a punch. This person's sword cultivation is extremely powerful. His physical body is even stronger than mine. He cultivates the sword intent of returning to origin and appeared in Decimating Heaven Abyss. Maybe he's Old Man Guiyuan's disciple. To be valued by Old Man Guiyuan, he must be a peerless genius of the human race. If he's allowed to grow, another sword immortal of returning to origin might appear in the human race. Great Commander, we should attack Decimating Heaven Abyss at all costs and kill this person. Soul-devouring Devil Soul Cry stood up. No, killing a peerless genius of the human race and saving Mo Jun's descendant will bring great benefits. But we can't judge whether this is a trap or not. Moreover, if that person escapes with Mo Jun's descendant, what's the use of us attacking Decimating Heaven Abyss? Do we have to attack the entire Qianyuan world? With just our manpower, it's not enough to loosen the muscles of the human race. Chapter 1055. Once this was said, the demons calmed down a little. In the Great War 70,000 years ago, the demons suffered heavy losses, and almost all of their experts died. The current higher-ups of the demons were mostly small fries back then. Of course, there were also rising stars born after the war. But in terms of strength they were far from the power before the final war. The losses of the humans back then were much smaller. Even if they lost Sword Immortal Guiyuan, there were still many Earth Immortals who survived. Now that they had recuperated for tens of thousands of years, they could nurture another batch of powerhouses, and possibly even a few Earth Immortals. Compared to back then, their strength should have improved greatly. The demons were able to preserve their lives, relying on the humans not being able to adapt to the void environment, as well as not knowing how much resources the demons had. The other demons calmed down slightly, but Blood Demon could not stand this anger. He angrily rebuked, "Han Ming, do you still have any courage? The one who died this time is your soul-devouring demon lineage. You don't even have the courage to avenge him. Over at Decimating Heaven Abyss, it might be a trap, but it might also be a heaven-sent opportunity. If it really is a heaven-sent opportunity, we can eliminate the future peerless genius of the humans, and also save Mo Jun's descendant. Great Commander. Mo Jun's descendant can be the 10,000 Laws demon. The Great Commander said in a low voice. Stop arguing, Mo. Tell us the situation back then in detail. The white-clothed cultivator cupped his hands in acknowledgement, and told everything he saw and heard back then. The Great Commander closed his eyes and pondered. Mo Jun's descendant is actually that human brat's puppet. I wonder what's the situation with that puppet, and whether it can still be recovered. The reason why he let the sacred race come to decimating heaven abyss to undergo the tribulation might be because the heaven origin world's will in decimating heaven abyss is the weakest, and the power of the heavenly tribulation is even weaker. According to the situation from before, once a soul transformation realm creature appears in decimating heaven abyss, it will be attacked by sword immortal Beiyuan. We have probed most of the places in decimating heaven abyss, and this kind of situation happened. Decimating heaven abyss spans hundreds of millions of miles. Even sword immortals can't attack from such a distance. So, there must be a great formation helping them. Moreover, this great formation is triggered by soul transformation realm creatures. For tens of thousands of years, the only soul transformation realm creatures that entered decimating heaven abyss were sword immortal Beiyuan's disciple and this human in front of them. What they had in common was that they all possessed the Beiyuan sword intent. However, Mo Jun's descendant and Xueqi's descendant did not possess the returning origin sword intent, and were actually able to undergo the tribulation in the decimating heaven abyss. At this time, a very large but skinny demon stood up. Grand Commander. Could it be that sword immortal Beiyuan closed a portion of the array formation to help his disciple's puppet transcend the tribulation? The breathing of the demons became heavy. They did not believe that Beiyuan's sword immortal was finished just like that. As for sword immortal Beiyuan, he had yet to take action. The fiends were worried that it was a trap and that he was waiting for them to take the bait. Now that he thought about it, it was possible that part of the formation had been shut down to give the two puppets a chance to transcend the tribulation. Blood Demon also became spirited. If that's really the case, we can completely take the opportunity to destroy the formation that supports the origin returning sword. In the future, we can enter and leave absolute heaven abyss as we please. Although the demons could survive in the void, it didn't mean that they liked to stay in the void. Living in the void was detrimental to the reproduction and survival of low-level abyss devils. Comparatively speaking, the situation inside the absolute heaven abyss was also much better than the endless void. If there was really a chance to break the formation of absolute heaven abyss, it would definitely be a good opportunity for them. Even Han Ming nodded. If we can really occupy absolute heaven abyss, the reproduction and cultivation speed of the sacred race will increase greatly in the future. The time needed to catch up to the human race will also be greatly reduced. The demons all stared at the Grand Commander with fervent eyes, waiting for him to make a decision. The Grand Commander pondered for a long time before saying, "The risk is too great. If it really is a trap, we will all die in absolute heaven abyss. At that time, our branch of the sacred race will be completely annihilated. As the Grand Commander, I can't risk my clan's resources. How about this? Send a Mahayana sacred race over first. If sword immortal Beiyuan really closed a portion of the array formation, it will take some time to reopen it. During this time, a Mahayana sacred race will be enough to kill his early deity transformation disciple and bring back Mo Jun's descendant. If it's a trap, losing a Mahayana sacred race won't be a huge loss." The demons all nodded lightly, agreeing with the Grand Commander's decision. This choice was indeed very safe. They were only gambling with the life of a Mahayana sacred race. If they won the bet, they could kill a human race peerless genius and bring back a demon race peerless genius. An ordinary Mahayana sacred race was indeed nothing compared to two peerless geniuses. Subsequently, a gray-white shadow flew into the pitch-black crack, entering absolute heaven abyss. Sword immortal Beiyuan's voice sounded in Wang Daoyuan's ears. "Your plan worked. You really caught a big fish. A mid-stage Mahayana sacred race fiend is currently approaching you. In order to not expose himself, he did not use spatial ability. You hurry up and dodge. Wait for him to come up a bit before I make a move, lest he runs away." Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to be negligent either. Even an early-stage Mahayana sacred race fiend was a major realm ahead of him. The higher the cultivation, the greater the gap between two realms. Even if fighting across realms, it was also impossible for him to compete with a Mahayana sacred race fiend. Moreover, the power of human cultivators was restricted here at absolute heaven abyss. He also did not dare to stay any longer. Summoning Lei Peng's flying boat, he carried Devil Prison, who was still refining the gift of heavenly tribulation, onto the flying boat and fled towards Sword Immortal Guiyuan's tomb. No matter how fast Lei Peng's flying boat was, it was only a high-grade Tier 5 flying boat in the end. Just flying out several thousand kilometers, a gray light rushed over from behind, less than several hundred kilometers away from him. This distance was no different from being close to a Mahayana sacred race cultivator. He mobilized Guiyuan's sword intent, planning to resonate with his master's sword intent to resist this Mahayana sacred race fiend. At this time, Sword Immortal Guiyuan's voice sounded in his ears again. "Disciple, hurry up and dodge. I'll kill this fiend bastard." Wang Daoyuan did not dare to be negligent. His master was Chen Yuan, world's #1 person back then. Now that only his soul turned into a sword spirit, he could similarly intimidate the fiend race. He did not dare to wait for the sword light to appear before dodging. He hurriedly put away Lei Peng's flying boat, grabbed his avatar Devil Prison, and executed Silver Light Escape to dodge towards the north. At the same time that Wang Daoyuan executed Silver Light Escape, a huge white sword appeared out of thin air. This huge sword extended upwards into the 9 heavens astral wind layer. Although it looked simple and unadorned, the black gas in the decimating heaven abyss could not block this huge sword at all. The cultivators on both sides of the decimating heaven abyss could clearly see this huge sword. In an instant, the huge sword slashed down. The gray light split into two and crashed into 2 mountains. The huge sword dissipated, leaving Wang Daoyuan in a state of shock. When the sword slashed down, it was less than 50 kilometers away from him. Sword Immortal Guiyuan's sword, even the remnant force, could sweep over 1,000 kilometers. Splitting mountains and splitting rocks was nothing but an ordinary matter. If there were Yuanian cultivators here, they would not be able to protect their lives if they encountered even a little of the remnant force. Fortunately, Wang Daoyuan's physical body was strong and Sword Immortal Guiyuan had held back, so only his Taoist robe was damaged. Wang Daoyuan looked at the damaged Taoist robe on his body and complained, "Master, your sword was really powerful, disciple almost died." "Ha ha ha, those cowardly demons did not dare to enter the decimating heaven abyss for tens of thousands of years, so I never really fought. Finally meeting a Mahayana demon, I could not hold back a bit. This sword slash was really satisfying." Wang Daoyuan took out his flying boat and brought his 2 clones to Sword Immortal Guiyuan's tomb. Right at this time, a figure appeared in front of Sword Immortal Guiyuan. This person had a white beard and white hair, and was even wearing a white robe. He cupped his hands towards Sword Immortal Guiyuan and said, "Brother Guiyuan, why are you throwing a tantrum, causing such a huge commotion? I could turn a blind eye to the small commotion before, but if I did not come in to take a look at this commotion, I would be neglecting my duty." Sword Immortal Guiyuan's figure appeared from the sword. "Brother Yin Yang, long time no see, you have also cultivated to become an Earth Immortal." He waved his hand. "Cultivators of the same generation have either died in battle or ascended to immortality long ago. I only became an Earth Immortal 40,000 years ago. I can be considered the latest among my generation. Brother, what are you doing? At least give me an explanation, or else I will not be able to report back." A demon brat entered the decimating heaven abyss. "I have not fought for tens of thousands of years already, so my hands were itchy and I ruthlessly killed him. The corpse is 20,000 kilometers to the east. You can go take a look if you are interested," the white-robed old man said with a smile. "Brother Guiyuan can't lie to me. There is no need to go through the trouble." Saying so, he glanced at Wang Daoyuan again. "So young, his cultivation has reached deity transformation stage. His attainments in the sword Dao are not low either, truly rare. Brother Guiyuan, is this your new disciple?" "Back then, I left some inheritances over at Beiyuan. This junior found my inheritances and even cultivated Sword Immortal Guiyuan. Later on, he entered the decimating heaven abyss to search for treasures, so I took him in as my 3rd disciple. Dao Yuan, bow to Yin Yang Formation Immortal." The title of Earth Immortal would usually be added with the thing he was most proficient in. Because Sword Immortal Guiyuan was a sword cultivator, he was called a Sword Immortal. This Yin Yang Formation Immortal was clearly proficient in the Tao of formations. His appearance was somewhat similar to the archaic Arcanum sect's Yin Yang Compass Artifact Spirit. In addition to his title, he was most likely the first ancestor of archaic Arcanum sect, the Yin Yang Supreme God. Wang Daoyuan hurriedly bowed. Junior Wang Daoyuan greets Yin Yang Formation Immortal. May I ask if Senior is the first ancestor of Beiyuan's archaic arcanum sect, the Yin Yang Supreme God? Yin Yang Formation Immortal nodded. It is indeed me. Those juniors are worshipping the statue I left behind back then. I heard that among the juniors, there was someone with talent comparable to mine, is that true? With this question, Wang Daoyuan was secretly delighted. This was a chance to get closer. It is true, that junior of yours is called Shen Zhouxiao. He is my brother. He is now in the early Yuanying stage. Before he went through the tribulation, I helped him raise his natal artifact, the Yin Yang Compass, to the 5th level. A few years ago, when I helped the archaic arcanum sect raise the Yin Yang Compass you left behind, he even stayed at my place for a few years. Yin Yang Formation Immortal laughed. Junior, you are quite clever. You are not lying. Coincidentally, I was bored these past few years, so I improved the Yin Yang Compass. In the Tao of Formations, I have also gained some new insights. Since you have a close relationship with Zhou Xiao, help me bring it over. Brother Guiyuan, lend me some spiritual energy. Guiyuan's sword immortal nodded. Large amounts of spiritual energy surging from his sword. The Yin Yang Formation Immortal's shadow produced Yin and Yang Qi, absorbing the spiritual energy. After a few breaths, a black and white compass appeared out of thin air. Without using his divine perception to examine it, Wang Daoyuan dared to conclude that it was a 5th-level magic artifact. Using spiritual energy to create a 5th-level magic artifact out of thin air, this was the true skill of an immortal. Seeing his surprised expression, Guiyuan's sword immortal laughed. Don't be surprised, for immortals, condensing qi into an object is just a small trick. Yin and Yang and the 5 elements of the source of matter, with the Yin and Yang qi and the 5 elements spiritual energy, it is not difficult to create anything. When you cultivate to the almighty realm, it will be a piece of cake. After that, the Yin Yang Formation Immortal spent a few more breaths of time to create a jade bamboo scroll. He handed the jade bamboo scroll and the Yin Yang compass to Wang Daoyuan. This Yin Yang compass is a newly improved one. Without the core inheritance of the archaic arcanum sect, you will not be able to use it. Help me pass it to Shen Zhouxiao. This jade bamboo scroll contains some insights into the Tao of Formations. You can make a copy. Treat it as my reward.